The ice cream truck's around the corner. Grab yourself something sweet as we return to the Fixed Ops Roundtable Summer Palooza event.
Strengthen your dealership with the help of our next segment on decline services and setting the next service appointment.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We're in for a wonderful treat. Mike Bauer, corporate trainer, U.S. and Canada at BG Products, is once again with us. And Mike, what a great honor to have you back. Welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, thank you, Ted. It's an honor to be back. Thank you.
So I got to ask you, since you were on the show just a few months ago, I've been following you now more on social media, and I saw a post just a few weeks back, and I'm going to share it if I can. Actually, I'll share the picture from the post, and I believe the gentleman in the picture standing next to you is one of the international, or with one of the international distributors at BG Products. And what got my attention was what he said when this picture was posted. He is tall, by the way. He said that Mike Bauer, what a great, experience to work with you, and that you are a former Broadway actor. Okay. And I had no idea about that, Mike. Is that for real?
Yeah, it is for real. I was born and raised, as you and I talked the first time. You and I followed each other across the country, but I was born and raised in Buffalo, New York. And my mom was a concert pianist, and my dad was an opera singer. So I was born into a musical family. I know it doesn't sound like it, acid reflux kind of scored the chords, but I did musical theater in high school, and I got bit. And then from there, we did a lot of shows in Buffalo, and I got as high as I could. And then there was about four of us.
Mike, Shay's Theater, downtown Buffalo.
Shay's Theater, yes. I did Joseph in his Technicolor Dreamcoat there. Which that was a story within a story. Wish I had time to tell you, but it's an actor's nightmare. But anyway, so from there we went to New York, and I was just extremely blessed to have done some Broadway shows there. And then I toured out in New York, and Columbia Pictures got a hold of me, and that's how I ended up out in California. So I've been beyond blessed to have two careers, one automotive and one theatrical. So I wasn't the waiter in the restaurant. I was the waiter in the service drive. So I've been beyond blessed.
Okay. First of all, who's the gentleman in the picture? Do you recall where in the world he's from?
I want to say he is our Finland distributor.
I think so.
And I can't pronounce his first name. And I don't know, Ted, I will remember your license plate, but I can't remember names for nothing. But awesome. And what an amazing business mind. Our internationals are just absolutely amazing. So great people.
Where in Buffalo did you live?
I lived in a town just outside of downtown called Cheektowaga.
The airport's in Cheektowaga, yeah.
Exactly. Buffalo International's right there.
Yeah, that's right.
So whenever you hear of blizzards...
The international airport that goes to Canada.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Wow. Small world.
Yeah, truly it is.
You found your way to BG Products, and the rest is history. What magnificent work you're doing. So you're spreading the good word, okay, all over the continent, and you have trainers who work with you. The BG team is growing. BG is growing in leaps and bounds, Mike. I can't believe some of the numbers I'm hearing now. You got a lot of big news that's happened this year, and I can't wait to see what you're going to share with us today on the roundtable.
Well, and all of this is perfect timing. Where we ended third quarter, going into fourth quarter, and this is a slow time. we got Thanksgiving coming up, we got Christmas, we got New Year's, we got tax season. So this is the perfect time to get some processes in place. And the last time we talked about the walk around, and yes. I'm really hoping, Ted, that the managers out there really decided to at least try it. I call it a no-brainer. Move the couch, do it for 90 days. And everybody on my team and all my reps and customers that I've trained, my motto is, do it for 90 days. As long as nobody dies or goes to jail, we're good. And if it doesn't work, go back to what you're doing. But, Zig Ziglar said it. If we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. Yet all I hear from our managers and shop owners, oh, man, we got to make more money. And then we tell them how, and they go, well, we don't have time for that. Okay, you can't have both. You got to do something. So when you asked me what, topics, I thought, well, we did the walk around. This is a perfect segue now to get into menuing. And then from menuing, let's set the next visit. So again, we're getting into slow times. We got to be proactive and not be reactive. So I really push menus. And if they're not using them, they need to. And the benefits are really self-explanatory. But you know what, Ted, that first bullet point, I can't tell you how important that is. And I'm going to give you a quick story that verifies the things that I say. I was in Montreal a couple of weeks ago, dealer group. I was at a Toyota store, excuse me. And they were using our smart VMA and they decided to cancel it for whatever reasons. But I always have my rep take me into parts, show me what we're moving one dot. And out of 5 advisors, each advisor had their flavor of the month, but none of them were on the same page. I had one doing fuel, another one that was just doing battery, another one that was just doing climate, another one just doing brake, and another one just doing alignments. So when I talked to management, they said, no, we pulled the menu, but we believe in being transparent. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't sound too transparent. So we took it a step further. And I had my rep, one of his friends, call the dealership and ask for each one of those advisors and ask them what they would do at a 30,000 mile service and how much. Well, Ted, without a menu, we got 5 different versions. Now, I'm not saying anybody was lying, but to the customer, when you get that, their immediate thought is, don't you guys know what the hell you're doing?
Yeah.
So, and then they had a BDC department. So that even created more havoc because now the customer comes in and what do they say to the advisor? Well, that's not what they said over the phone. Ted, there's an easy fix.
You're right.
So obviously menus, and yeah, I mean, you see the rest of the bullet points, but I can train a brand new advisor that has not done anything in the automotive business. And in 30 minutes, I can have them up and running, ready to go. But it brings the gouger down, brings the weak one up. But most importantly for me as service manager, I would see my advisors selling services when the customers didn't need it and not selling it when they did. But once I got a menu, boom, now my customers were getting exactly what they should be at that mileage.
Makes all the sense in the world. And that consistent message that speaks volumes to the customer. And when you don't have a consistent message, that speaks volumes as well. Yeah.
Well, your credibility goes out the window.
Yeah. Makes total sense. Menus are a huge part of the process. I know BG brings that to the table. Smart VMA, there's none better. It's VIN specific. And I've seen some of the data now that what VIN-specific menus can do for dealerships in terms of revenue, wow, it's strong. There's no longer one size fits all. I don't want to step on your message. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm here in Fresno, working with my local distributor. And, they don't have a lot of huge dealerships like Los Angeles or Dallas, the big metropolitan cities. But my distributor grew over 300% by doing Smart VMA, and they have a 97% penetration. They have taken the little mom and pop dealerships over the top, and it has produced enormous profits. But most importantly, it's also helped them with their CSI.
Yes.
It goes hand in hand. The slide that we're showing here, Ted, you and I, we got to research our information. You and I have been off the drive for so many years, but we both have to stay current. And I found this article in 2014, and it was written by Valvoline. And I love it because it is supported by the OEM and AAA, two very viable sources. And it simply says that if you drive in any of these bullet points, that you are considered severe. Well, times have changed. I want to say it was 2017, and I was looking at a Sprinter owner's manual, and I found that Ford had a new driving condition called extreme. So I went, wow, that was interesting. But if we step back a second, there is a third one, and the third one is the first one. And this is the one that the OEMs call factory maintenance. And this is considered driving habits conditions under normal driving conditions. Well, Ted, I got to ask you, in my 40 plus years, I still have not found normal driving conditions.
These are the conditions that I drive in every day, and you do too in California. I know that. Even in Buffalo.
Yeah, totally not. But you know where they are. They're the test track, and I get that. And I've been to GM's test track. It is 5.5 miles long. I mean, this thing is a beast. But I don't see any orange cones that say road construction. Most importantly, Ted, I don't see anybody driving a car there 365 days out of the year. However, they need to set a baseline because they don't know who is purchasing the car, what kind of driver. So I get into a lot of heated conversations with my technicians when they say, well, the factory doesn't recommend it. No, but they do. It's in the term inspect. The factory owner's manual says oil change, inspect, lube, lube, lube. The inspection says, we don't know if this customer is going to need it or not. So that's your normal. But after that, now you got to figure if you're severe or you're extreme. So what I have done, I laminate this for the advisors. And I try to create as much transparency with the customers as possible because they don't believe us. They think every time they come in, we're just going to sell them whatever. So I tell the advisor, push this in front of the customer and just explain them. So Ted, if you were my customer, I would say, you know what, Ted, while I'm going to pull up your information, would you do me a favor? Would you please look this over and let me know how many bullet points you fall under? I want the customer to make that discovery.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised, Ted.
That's a good word, discovery. I like that. Yeah.
Right? They'll look at this, they'll go, oh my God, I didn't know I drove like that. I didn't say anything. The advisor didn't say anything. The customer made the discovery. So anything outside of normal is going to be considered dealer recommended services. And I live in California, so I have to be BAR compliant, Bureau of Automotive Repair. So this is what we've done. And if you would do me a favor, click to the next slide. This really worked beautifully with our Smart VMA tool. And our Smart VMA menu has 3. and that they're basically turned preferred value and minimum. What I've been doing with my customers and my advisors, right after the slide we just talked about, now I plugged it in here. So your minimum is your factory maintenance. The next one are your severe. So if a customer says, you know what, I'm not even 5 bullet points, all right, you're severe. But if the customer says, well, apparently I'm extreme, then I point them to that menu. So again, it's not the advisor that's pushing it. It's really the customer that's picking their own menu. And Ted, I got to tell you, almost every advisor, when I do this, they ask me, can we change those names to extreme, severe, normal? We can do whatever you want. And they love it because now they get it. It's huge.
Yeah, that is huge. And that's good. That's good looking. That makes a lot of sense. And it really drives home, Mike, the importance of having a menu, letting a customer see that.
And Ted, you know what that does? Menus take the selling out of the advisor's hands.
Yeah. And you know what? I see it every day. People pick from the menu. They want to pick from the menu. Even when you don't expect it, they pick from the menu. But you got to show the menu.
It's a restaurant. I've never gone into a restaurant where I never asked a menu. However, when you go to McDonald's, what do you get? A menu board. And there you go. And you said you knew Gary Owens. I mean,
yes, Gary. So they're down in Daytona, and they're good friends with our friend Ed Roberts, who's a BG dealer as well. And here we are at Gary Owens. Yeah. And
they're huge. I want to say, if I remember, 16, 18 advisors.
Yeah.
Big. This was their menu. And they were selling off that. While I stood there in the drive working, this was like, it was like hot butter on toast, man. It was just fluid. It really was. So, the reason why I bring this up, Ted, you don't have to have a glamorous menu. You just have to have a menu. It's that simple.
Yeah. It is that simple. Yeah. I believe it. And look, you've got, there you go. You got your services. You've got your investment for each one of the, you like that word investment, right? For each one of the
I totally
services.
do.
And then you've got the intervals there. Yeah. It's important to have a menu. And that dealership does a great job in a whole lot of things I've seen on the Roundtable.
Oh, they're amazing. And that menu, as the customer's looking at it, the beauty is now they see what they're due for the next visit. So it plants the seeds. It gives them a chance to be prepared. Now these, great story. What you see at the Taylor Auto Mall. And Ted, I'm a storyteller. I'm an actor. I love stories. I was in Ottawa, Canada, many years ago, and they wanted me to work with their advisors. And you're going to love this story. As we walked in, I found out that morning the dealer principal had just fired all 4 of their advisors for embezzlement. So now I'm standing there and I see people on the desk and I said, well, who are these guys? Oh, those are our car sales people. You got to train them. I said, they've never been an advisor. You're going to give me 3 days to teach? There ain't no way it's going to happen. So I asked the dealer principal, do you have a menu? He goes, no, we don't believe in them. I said, well, guess what? If you want me to train, we're going to do a menu. So I asked him, I said, so you mean to tell me your finance department doesn't sell off of a menu? Oh, of course they do. Well, wait a minute. You just told me you didn't believe in a menu. So either you do or you don't. But Ted, a lot of our dealer principals and a lot of our GMs, they're all front end. They're all variable. They've never worked in fixed operations. But look, if you just use some of the tools you use in the front end, bring them to the back end, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So we put this menu together, and Ted, within 3 days, we had them rocking. All they had to do was
those salespeople, the salesmen are selling service. Imagine
easy.
that.
take the mileage or the kilometers, point to the box. Here's what you do for and shut up. It's that easy. So they help. Okay, beautiful. This segues right into setting the appointment. We always hear the customers say, no, thank you. I'll do it next time. Look, I don't have a problem with that. The number one reason customers don't buy is not money. It is up there, but it's not the number one reason. The number one reason is time. It's all about convenience.
Those are the top two. Time first, money second. Yeah.
Exactly. So, we just hit the customer in the head with a frying pan. They didn't see it coming. And they're like, I knew you were going to do that, but you know what? I got to get out of here. Well, they weren't prepared time and finances. So when I've been training advisors, and I figured this out when I was an advisor. I would tell the customer, not a problem. I apologize. I just sprung this on you, but here's what we can do. Let's set you up 4 weeks from today. Let's get you back in here. Because the word next time means the next service visit, 6-8 months down the road. Well, I always like to use analogies in everyday world and relate it to the car. Well, today it's a cavity. And if we leave a go to the next service, it's going to be a root canal. Now, Ted, I don't know about you. I don't like dentists, and root canals hurt. So let's take care of it when it's a cavity. So
good analogy. Great analogy.
Yeah. Right? You don't feel a cavity, but the minute you get a toothache, you're like,
oh, I feel the root canal just you talking about it.
Give me the juice. Give me the juice.
Right. More juice.
I can still feel it. But the reason why I like the 4 weeks, there's a minimum of 2 pay periods in a 4-week time. Okay. Now, customer can budget their money. I mean, if I know I got to come back in 4 weeks and spend, $300, all right, that's $150 a paycheck. I can make that.
That's clever. Work. I like it. Yeah, that's smart.
And not only that, but now I can bring the customer back either at 9 in the morning or 1 in the afternoon. They already know they know when they're coming back. They know what we're going to do, how long it's going to take, and how much it's going to cost. Now, in sales, we always get hit with the objection. There's never a perfect scenario. But the only one here is nobody will ever want to commit because we're always, let me look at my calendar and I'll let you know. That's a cop-out. Whenever we get objections, they're hiding behind the words. Our job is to figure out what truly it is they're saying no to. Yeah. So I love it. It's a game. And I get it. They don't want to commit. So the way I've been able to overcome that, when somebody doesn't want to commit, they say they'll get back to me. I'll ask them a question. Have you ever gone to a beautiful restaurant, Ted, with your significant other? Like at an anniversary or something?
Absolutely, yes.
Did you make reservations or did you just go in and go, I'm here?
No, if I want to get into Oliver's at Buffalo, I'm going to have to make a reservation. Yeah, no question about it.
Okay. So the minute we say that, they go, I got it. So I tell them, look, we're just holding a spot. You see how busy we are. If that taking time doesn't work, call me or call our BDC. We'll change it. Then they have to go back to that original appointment date and time and land that plane. Now the customers are going to go, well, I'll commit to it because I can always call and cancel. So I always ask them, out of 5 of those, how many do you think are actually going to come in and stay? And they'll say, 3. Well, I'll take 1 because now you're not doing
I got nothing now. Yeah.
One's better. I'd rather have a little bit of something than a whole bunch of nothing.
Okay, I'm going to use that, the 4 weeks. I already wrote that down. I took a lot of notes on this. And by the way, you know what I used to call it? I used to call it, it's not a no, it's a stall, Mike. That's what I used to call it, right? They're just stalling you. So
postpone, nobody likes decline, but you're right. It's a stall. but I got to give them time. But, here, Ted, I tell everybody, so many shops, they're slammed with work in the morning, and by 2 o'clock, they're out of work. Well,
that's
the
right.
danger of that is, because you let the customer control your house. All right, this is ludicrous. This makes no sense. We need to take control of the customer. Okay, Ted, if you were to say to me, Mikey B, you know what, we're doing a Labor Day barbecue Sunday at 1 o'clock. I'd love to have you and your wife over. And I'd say, you know what, Ted, that doesn't work for me. I'm going to come over to your house on Saturday instead. Okay, who am I to tell you when I'm coming to your house? We need to take control back so that way we can fill those dead times. We got to keep the text wrenching. All right.
Got to keep it moving. Sell those hours. We've
got to set the next appointment on the active delivery. Yesterday is a perfect example. I'm dealing with a dealer group. And my first question is, do you guys have a BDC department? And the reaction I'm getting. Oh, God. I go, yeah, you want to kill them, don't you? 100% of the time. And I tell the advisors, it's your fault. You're not setting the appointment. The BDC department is doing exactly what we've told them. Yes. However, once you set the appointment, the beauty of the BDC department is now to do the follow-up call like my dentist's office.
Mike, look at the choice. Look at the choice closes you have. I'm reading through this. Ask them which part of the week, the beginning or later. How about a Saturday? And then you're giving them a choice, time specific, 7:25 or 8. It's not a yes or no. It's which one. I love it.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, you're right. I'm planting the seed, but yet I'm guiding them. I didn't say, hey, Ted, when do you want to come in? I'm not throwing you the keys to my house. Not going to do that. I will guide you when I want you to come in. And if I'm an advisor working on a Saturday, I'm going to move you to a Saturday I'm working. So this really, really sets a standard. Now, to end it with this, here's the reason why advisors have to do this. Advisors, like technicians, are independent business people. Techs have their stalls. Advisors have their desk. I have new advisors. And yesterday I told them, I said, Ted, if you and I were an advisor, okay, and you did everything right with your customer today, and you said, hey, your next service is a $60K. It's a big one. We got a timing belt water pump. It's going to be about $1,200. The guy does a big gulp and goes, okay, thank God you told me. But you didn't set the appointment. 6 months later, he comes in. You're not around. I do the normal meet and greet. And I go, what can I do for you? And he goes, well, I'm here for my $60K. And I'm like, did you set an appointment in my head? I'm going, please say no. Please say no. And he goes, nope. No. Now I got the ticket. You did all the work. I took the commission. Yeah. There's so many benefits to this, but Ted, we got to be courageous and have the guts. Move the couch. Move it. You're going into these slow times. You better create your work. And if you're doing a rebuild, now's the time to do it. So when you turn that key on the new building, you're ready to go. Because they always tell me, oh, it's not a good time. We're busy. We're in the middle of a rebuild. On the contrary, this is when you need to do it. So when you get that new building, man, you're firing. When you get into the busy time, you're firing.
Everybody, hey, Mike Bauer from BG Products, extraordinary. BG Products, the leader in the industry. BGprod.com. You can find Mike on social media as well. Mikey B, none better, everybody. Reach out to BG to take the next step. Mike, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you so much for today.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Take care.
From day one, my owner has treated me so well, like one of the family. When it was time for my first oil change, she checked out bgfindashop.com. Over 50,000 dealerships and shops use high-quality BG automotive products like MOA Oil Fortifier to help me run better, longer. When you maintain your car, it'll take care of you too. So visit bgfindashop.com. Their auto experts know which BG products will keep your car happy. Be good to your car with BG. Visit bgfindashop.com.
Join us for our next segment as CDK takes us on a tour of their latest study of service shoppers.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It's a great honor to welcome our colleagues from CDK Global, one of the highlights in the show. Kim Saylor is with us, Senior Director of Product Marketing at CDK. No stranger to the Roundtable. CDK is a certified partner for the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And I'd like to introduce everybody also today to Peter Kahn, who's the Global Head of Research. Kim and Peter, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Honored to be here. Definitely happy to have my first roundtable, and I feel like I need some prop like the Knights of the Roundtable, but this will do.
As Kim knows, we have all those props and all those things, ready at a beck and call. So, and very grateful, Kim, to have you with us today, as well as Peter. And Kim, I'm excited about what you're going to be sharing today.
Good. Yeah, we're excited to share it with you, Ted. Thanks for having us.
All right. So I'm going to step out of the way. I'm going to let you take the show, Kim and Peter. And with that, here we go.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. So today we're going to talk about a research study that was recently done called our CDK Service Shopper Study. And just jumping right into it, every day you have dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of cars pulling into your service lane. And they need anything from, let's say, minor maintenance of an oil change all the way to something major like a rebuilt transmission. And so the latest NADA data that was recently released shows that new vehicle dealerships had over $142 billion of service and parts sales in 2023. And that's a huge number, but we all know that that's just a portion of the total maintenance and repair business. So I like to look at that as this is a really big opportunity for dealerships to grow their business. So that's one of the reasons why CDK Service Shopper Study is so important. With over 2,000 respondents in our study this year, Peter and his team were able to uncover, why service shoppers decide where they want to take their vehicles for service, why they choose a dealership, or why they may choose a chain or an independent shop or service provider. So when we did the study, what are the questions that we wanted to get answered? We really wanted to find out what are the reasons that shoppers are staying loyal to the dealership service department? And if they're not staying loyal, why are they taking their business to other channels? And then along with that, what features can a dealership offer that will help them retain those service customers as well as bring in new customers? And then finally, what are some key takeaways that the dealer can consider, based on our research? So kind of in a nutshell, after a customer's warranty is expired, why do they stay at the dealership for their service? Or if not, why do they go someplace else? So Peter, before we jump into the findings of the survey, can you tell us a little bit more about the respondents and who we heard from?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at who we did hear from. And first of all, we went out and got a lot of folks to participate in this survey. You had to have your car serviced at least in the last 6 months. We heard from over 2,100 folks that had that qualification. And what we have here, and I'm just going to take you up to the top group, which is, we have a fairly equal spread of men and women, a good spread of age, by cohort, Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, et cetera, and a good spread of income. And that's all very important because we want to be able to understand who's responding to us. But what I think is even more important is, first of all, their attitudes. And that's what you're seeing down below there with that idea of maintenance. How do you think about maintenance on your vehicle? And that gives us some really great insight on why somebody may choose a dealership or may choose another channel. And we want to understand behavior. How many miles do they drive? What kind of vehicle do they drive? Those types of things. And again, that gives us an insight into understanding how they act, why they act, and then how we can influence their actions subsequently. So I'll give you a couple of fun facts that I think are useful that we got out of our folks. First of all, 40% of the folks that we surveyed actually had their vehicle surveyed service at least twice a year, and another 30% have their vehicle serviced 3 times a year. So these folks come into and get their vehicle serviced fairly often. Obviously, oil change is the big one, tire rotation is the big one, but these folks are, do get their vehicle serviced often. 60% of the folks we surveyed, their vehicle is under 7 years old, mostly in the 4 to 7 year range. A couple other fun facts: most of these folks here, 43%, was the largest cohort. Go to the dealership. That's their primary channel that they choose. 35% to an independent and about 20% to a chain. Now, we did in this survey, we've done this a couple of years in a row. We started this back in 2020, all the way 2022, and this one in 2023. We did include mobile, the mobile channel. Now, we didn't hear from too many folks that get mobile service. Bunch of reasons for that, but we have a little bit of smattering. And I'll tell you right up front, give the punchline away, that how folks are viewing mobile service and why they get mobile service is very similar to a chain. And I'll leave it at that. We may come back to that in a minute. 54% of the folks we did survey used to be under warranty, but are no longer. So that gets back to the idea that Kim brought up about, understanding reasons for defection. These, at least half of them are not under warranty any longer. Now, 70% of the folks that were under warranty, we heard from them, but 33% who used to go to, only 33% who used to be under warranty still go to the dealership. So we go from 70% under warranty to 33% post-warranty. So you can kind of get a sense of that defection rate. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit again about that behavior that we brought up earlier, and that's down in that lower left corner. So we ask them, what's your maintenance philosophy? And you can see kind of the breakdown. Some folks are saying, hey, I want to keep my vehicle in pristine shape. Turns out those are most likely to go to the dealership, as well as those folks who do what's necessary to preserve the value of the vehicle. Then we kind of drop down to folks that are really concerned about saving money. They'll do what it takes to keep the vehicle running, or only what they can afford. So again, we get that idea of attitude that leads to them choosing a channel. Let's go to the next slide.
Very good. All
right. So now we're going to kind of get into understanding of how people are feeling about that service provider that they've chosen. We use what we call a satisfaction metric, Net Promoter Score. What that's about is folks that are very likely to recommend the dealership. We call them promoters or an independent, versus those folks who wouldn't recommend a channel, for whatever reason, something didn't work out for them, and we call those folks a detractor. We subtract promoters from detractors, and we get this thing called Net Promoter Score. Bottom line is, it's all about recommending your channel, your dealership, your independent service repair facility to other folks that friends and family. Now, these numbers that we're looking at, this is that Net Promoter Score. It can go anywhere from -100 to +100. Anything above 30, you should consider a really good score. So you can see here that, quite frankly, all 3 channels are doing a great job. Customers like what they're getting from those channels, but they're getting what they're seeing, and their high Net Promoter Scores is for different reasons. So folks think about a dealership, and dealerships are doing a great job servicing those customers for the reasons they went there. It's the same for the chain service provider. And you can see dealerships and chains have a very similar NPS score, again, but for different reasons. Now, the independent, that has a higher Net Promoter Score to some extent. When we think about how customers choose their channel for service, the independent repair facility, turns out they kind of straddle the middle ground. And so they straddle the middle ground, and they're actually doing a really great job of servicing the customer, given the customer's expectations for what they expect to get from the independent repair facility. And we'll talk about what those expectations are. The only other thing I would add to this is, again, dealerships and chains, and you can see those scores from the left to the right go from 2020 through 2022 to 2023. Dealerships and chains are very stable, but independents have been bouncing around. And I'll just kind of preview that. Part of the reasons why they are bouncing around is back in 2020, and we did this late in 2020, that was kind of at the start of the pandemic. People weren't driving very much, but then we get into the middle of the pandemic. That's that 2022 score. We think there were a lot of health and safety concerns there that may pull that score down. And then we see this latest score, which was done in mid-2023. We think inflation kind of had an effect, certainly on the dealership side, and that may have led to folks going to the independent provider. So inflation may have bumped that ISP score back up again. Let's talk a little bit about what those benefits are and how each how each channel provides benefits. And then we need to think about the benefits and how dealerships can basically co-opt some of these other channels and start to win folks back.
Yeah, so
fascinating information, by the way.
Oh, sorry, Ted.
I was going to say this is fascinating and very relevant and timely.
Yeah, and so what Peter was just talking about with the NPS, again, similar scores, but for different reasons. So what are the top reasons that, customers taking their car to a dealership, for example? And if you look at this screen, out of all the customers that said they take their car to the dealership, the top reason was because of the existing relationship that they have with the dealer, which really should not be a surprise, right? In a lot of cases, they've bought their car with the dealership, they're servicing it, they may have bought another car. So it's because you are providing that great relationship and continuing to build on that relationship. That's the reason why they're coming back to you over and over again. And then if we look over at the independent shop, and it's interesting based on what Peter was saying, with their score kind of, up, down, and up again, price had always been the top factor for why they were selecting an independent shop over the dealership or over a chain. But this is the first time that the top reason is not because of price. It's not even in the top three. It's actually because of good reputation. So, it could be a lot of, I go online and I say, hey, where's a place to take my car? And they're hearing, good feedback from other people that they know. And so that good reputation is the top reason. And then finally, the chain, of course, the top reason they stand out because of convenient location. So that's really no surprise. But let's drill down and take a look at, okay, what are the next couple of reasons why? If we go back, to the dealership, why are they choosing the dealership? The number two reason is because of your service staff knowledge. It's the technician knowledge that brings a customer to your dealership. And that's something that you will have as an advantage over, both the independent and the chain shops. And as we move forward, that's going to be even more important. And then, of course, it's also because I can get OEM parts from the dealership, and as well as a good reputation. Those two were actually tied for third. And then if we look over at the independent shops, the second reason is because they did have an existing relationship, and then finally a convenient location. And then if you look at the chains, it's all around kind of convenience, right? Convenient location, quick service, lowest price. So we only hear about price and the top three reasons in that one space. So it's pretty interesting to see why the consumer is choosing where they're taking the car for service. And as Peter said, when we talk about the NPS and how could you improve your NPS or retain more customers or gain more customers, it might be looking at, a couple of these reasons that are, in the other, falling under independent or falling under chain. What can you do to make something, you're not going to change your location, but what could you do to make something more convenient for your customers? When convenience is a big reason why they're, choosing a chain. So Peter, why don't you tell us a little bit about just the top features that customers are looking for?
All right, I'm going to get a little geeky here with my research hat on. And what Kim was just talking about is how customers are looking at different choices, different channels, and based on how they understand what those channels deliver, they make those choices. When we think about features become the toolkit that you can use to, number one, retain your customers, and number two, use those features to conquest from other channels. So what we did is we took 24 service features that folks are using, folks have, and we put them to our 2,100 service shoppers that we surveyed, and we asked them two questions on each one of the features. Number one is, how much would you love it if you had this feature offered? And we get this scale either I don't care to all the way I would love this. And then we ask them again, all right, if we took this feature away, how much would you hate it? And so out of that, we get this idea of this kind of love-hate relationship And it sounds kind of strange, but it becomes really important because thinking about, like, for example, Kim just talked about the idea of factory trained technicians and factory parts. We take that feature and we ask folks, how do you feel about that? And it turns out they love the fact that those features are offered, and they would really hate it if the dealership took those away. So thinking about the dealership, that's something that at a minimum, the dealership has to offer those features. But there's other features that the dealership may not be offering that customers say, I don't expect it from you, but if you had it, I would love it. And that's where we start to get into this idea of conquest. So thinking about that, and that's what I'm showing here, it turns out, and this is no surprise, we've already pretty much talked about the idea of how customers view dealerships with regards to price, that if customers heard from dealerships that they would get the guaranteed lowest price, they would absolutely love it. And so it turns out, that's probably the best feature you could offer. Whether or not you choose to offer is a whole different conversation. But thinking about your dealership and all the things that you offer, especially again the things that Kim talked about, factory trained technicians, OEM parts. There's other things we're going to talk about that dealerships offer that none of these other folks do that really win the hearts and minds of consumers. Guaranteed lowest prices would probably bring all kinds of folks back to you. All right, we'll go past that and then talk about some of these other features. And some of these things are really designed to kind of pull away customers from those other chains, such as express lanes. The idea of being able to get a quick service on your car without having an appointment. Extended hours, again, covering some of those areas for convenience that the chains may be offering, or maybe the independent service folks are offering. Valet service, again, that's to kind of get rid of that idea of location that the chains may have an advantage, or the ISPs may have an advantage. These are things that when we tested it with the customers, they didn't expect the dealer to have, but if the dealer had them, they would be highly delighted. So these, for us, became the top 5 features that if you wanted to, number one, retain your customers, but more importantly, conquest from those other channels, these are things that you want to think about. So Kim, oh no, I'm sorry, this is me again. Along with these features, we kind of want to know what the moment of truth is when a customer goes to a dealership. And we asked those folks that went to a dealership that were not under warranty, tell us something about your experience that made it absolutely great. Oh. And conversely, was there something, when you went to the dealership, was there something that was absolutely terrible? So thinking about the great versus the terrible, we can get a sense of how do we retain these folks? What is it that they experienced that made it a great experience, and that they would stay and they would be loyal and they would recommend? And what was it that was terrible? They would say they would probably defect, and they would tell friends and family, I just can't, go to a dealership anymore. So you can read, on the left-hand side, a really important one is that video detailing, what's going on with the vehicle. That's something new to dealerships, and it's really paying off well. We actually just finished a survey of a whole bunch of dealers asking them about their strategies in 2023. What was the most impactful strategies? And it turned out video information of how the car was being serviced was one of the most positive outcomes of their strategies they did in 2023. So a big one. It builds trust. It makes customers feel like, hey, I'm learning about my vehicle. I trust the mechanics doing the right thing. And if I trust the dealership, I don't necessarily have a problem with the price I'm paying. Vehicle being delivered to my home was a big one. Again, not expected, but a delight nevertheless. Quick turnaround. Doing things that were extra. Again, something that the other channels may not be offering, but that idea of doing things quickly really, solves the problem that the chains are, where you can pull customers back from the chains. The other side of that, you can see those terrible experiences, and a lot of that's related to price. The price had me frustrated. It was very expensive. Again, in an inflationary time, that's something that's going to cause folks to potentially think about going to other channels. So Kim,
Peter, time and money seem to be the common threads in the right-hand column.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have lots and lots of comments on what was great and what was not great. At the end of the day, dealership customers love the kind of service experience they have. The thing that starts to irritate them is, am I being upsold? Am I paying too much? Do I trust that what the mechanic is telling me is the right thing? And again, using things like video, being very transparent on the charges, possibly offering a complete cost estimate at the time of booking. These are things that will alleviate that fear, that concern, and keep folks coming back to the dealership, because that's, all things being equal, that's what they're going to choose.
So before we wrap up, I just want to go through a few takeaways from this study. So as you can see, the first one, update. Service advisors do a great job today of, shepherding the customers through the service process, from the point of drop off till they're picking their car back up. But our research does show that, both helping the customer understand their services along with keeping them updated on the progress can be areas that are improved by the dealership. Maybe an oil change doesn't need, a super detailed description to go along with it. But if you start utilizing a tool that sends automatic updates to the customer, throughout their service process, that's going to improve that experience. It also takes off the responsibility of the advisor if the system is doing that for you automatically. And then, Peter's talked about, doing the video. If you're sending a customer a video for every time they bring their car in for service, it builds that trust. It builds an expectation that they're going to have with you. And then when you do find something that needs to be repaired, it allows them to say yes much easier. I trust the dealership. I trust that technician to know what's best for my car, as opposed to, like some of the comments we saw on that last slide, that they just feel like they're being upsold. When you look at the second thing, promoting training and technology, there's nothing wrong with taking what is a strength of the dealership, which is those certified technicians, and marketing that. I would highly encourage you to, as you're thinking about your service marketing, make sure that your service knowledge and your technician experience is part of that marketing message. And, again, going back to those videos, that absolutely helps you market those technicians. It's the first time in a lot of cases that the customer sees, under their car and hears from the technicians. We have, a dealership near me that, they just can't say enough about the experience from the video. And what they were most surprised about was the comments and feedback from their customers about how much they appreciate getting that video. That, to the point that they're even asking, about, a technician and calling the technician out by name. So, really creating a big value to that customer. And again, as we move forward and cars, continue to, become more complicated, and as EVs come out, you're going to have that advantage over those independent and chain shops. And so again, another reason to, now start making sure that your customers know how valuable that is. And then finally, talking about reputation management, there are some things that, that the independent shop, the chain shops, can offer that you can't compete against. Like if they have, 10 locations, versus your one location, that's hard to compete with. But there remains, an opportunity for you to make sure that you're building your reputation. Basically every time that customer comes into your dealership, maximize that interaction with the customer. Make sure you're ensuring that they're getting the best experience, that they're getting updated. Even to the point of utilizing a tool that can utilize AI to give real-time sentiment. So as, let's say texts are going back and forth in a conversation, that there's, an AI component that can read that and notify you as a manager that, hey, you might need to take action here, so that you can actually respond to something before it becomes an issue and help you continue to build and improve your reputation. So, overall, there's, small changes you can make, and there's also, changes you can make utilizing, different available technology that's out there. But, helping you provide that better experience for your customers and continuing to build, that relationship, and as well as improve your reputation is what you can do with these. So, if you want more information about the Service Shopper study, you can download the white paper here. And finally, from Peter and me and CDK, I just say thank you, Ted.
Well, Kim and Peter, great job. Everybody, there's a lot of information in the study you've just seen. So if you are watching us now at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and if you're registered for the event, watching us live, I'd encourage you to check your email, and you will receive a copy in your email of the Service Shopper 3.0 white paper from CDK Global. That's in your email now. If you're watching us at a later time, you can go to the URL that's here on the screen. We'll put that down below as well, and you can download it there and get your own copy of the Service Shopper 3.0 white paper. Amazing information. It is fascinating, Peter and Kim, how video has worked its way into our daily lives, and now, of course, into fixed operations, into the service and parts department, and is accepted. And Peter is not only accepted; it's trusted, right? And it's something that the others don't have, at least not yet, right? So great information. Kim, Saylor, Peter, Kahn, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you so much. And a great thank you to CDK Global for putting this segment together.
Thank you, Ted.
Thanks,
Great
Ted.
to be here.
Everybody, Kim, Saylor, and Peter Kahn from CDK Global here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, everyone.
CDK fits into what we try to do here very well for one reason. It works. The tools that you have, the resources you have, allow you to run a car dealership the way that it's supposed to be run.
We use the CDK Fixed Ops Suite. It has everything that we need to run the dealership. Everything's in one spot. Without CDK, I don't think we could be as successful as we are today.
We've seen a 30% increase in gross profit in our service department in just 1 year. It makes it so easy when you partner with CDK. What I'm most excited about with CDK, the evolution of the product itself. I like the direction it's going. It's going to make people's lives even easier.
Learn, network, and grow at the next Fixed Ops Roundtable pop-up event, happening live on October 3rd and 4th on the campus of Northwood University in Midland, Michigan. Please join us for this special event. Stay up to date with where we are headed next by following the Fixed Ops Roundtable on social media.
Wave hello to our newest certified dealer, along with Brook.ai in our next segment.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Brook.ai is a big part of innovation happening in the industry. Of course, we want to welcome our great friend, Tiffany Peeler, Vice President of Sales at Proactive Dealer Solutions and Brook.ai. And we want to welcome today and acknowledge and congratulate Fox Motors on being the latest Fixed Ops Roundtable certified dealer group nominated by Brook.ai. Yuri and Jack are here, and everybody welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and congratulations.
Thank you for having us and appreciate it.
All right, so a lot happening in our industry right now. Yuri, I want to have you give our audience some color and some background. For those who don't know, tell us more about Fox Motors. Where are you located? I understand you cover quite a bit of geography. What brands? And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so we are a Midwest dealer group, primarily based out of Michigan, but we do have a Ford store in Chicago. In Michigan, we are all the way from West Michigan to the east side of the state, as well as all the way to the UP. So we kind of have the entire state covered. We have over 35, I think 43 brands at this point. In fact, it's hard to keep track, and spanning everything from, domestic lines to luxury lines, foreign line, all kinds of things. I mean, it's a lot of brands. All around.
And Tiffany, I think wisely, you deployed, or I should say Fox has deployed Brook.ai, not in all the brands, but you got started. Tiffany, give us some background on that as well, if you don't mind.
So we partnered with Yuri and Jack. We started at one location. I think that something that we appreciate about Fox Motors and working with these two gentlemen is how mindful they are about rolling out new technologies to their stores. We got started with one location in particular that I believe, Yuri, you selected. We started with them and launched the Brooke application in that store. And then we worked with the store. And Jack and Yuri were both incredibly involved. And the service manager at that store was very involved throughout the process as well to implement the solution and start using all of the features and benefits of the tool in that store, and working with them to understand how they can use it best in their location. And over the course of about 90 to 120 days, we were really able to see significant results and impact that the technology was having on that store in particular. And then once that store became very comfortable, we were able to add another location. And so it's going to be kind of a slow rollout, but I think that's a smart thing to do when you're working with new technology and adopting AI on your voice channel, right, on your inbound calls. Doing it slowly, finding out what works for that group, using it the right way in each individual location, and determining at that point what's the next store that we're going to bring on. So it's been a really great process. We've learned a lot. I believe that the Fox Motors team has learned a lot, and we're excited to hopefully expand into more locations with them in the future.
Yuri, I have to ask you, what attracted you to or what attracted Brook.ai? What drew your attention, if I may add?
It's a great question. So just, speaking to different locations that we have in our group, as well as other dealers, one of the biggest problems we face, especially in the service department, is bandwidth. So we have wonderful service advisors that provide great face-to-face interaction with our customers, but that care and that face-to-face interaction really makes it hard to answer the phone. So, we, along with many other dealers, are always struggling with addressing people's needs over the phone. It's just, having to call them back, listening to all the voicemails, and just frankly, just being able to field the amount of calls that the average location, especially a high volume location, has coming in. So what we were looking for is an innovative way to kind of address this issue from one direction. And that direction is, could we field a lot of our appointment traffic to be handled by a conversational AI? We looked at a number of solutions, and Brooke really stood out as the most, frankly, evolved as well as well integrated with our system. So we use Xtime at all of our locations, and Brooke's close integration with Xtime really made it a good fit. So that would be kind of
is important. Yes.
It is.
Yuri, fascinating time to be in our industry, because you're right. We're hearing dealerships all over the country tell us one of the top issues is being able to answer the phones, just get to the phone call and being able to answer it. Maybe hard to believe, but Yuri, that's the real world today.
It definitely is. And you know what's really interesting, even in the modern age of texting and online scheduling, phone traffic seems to continually increase. So, you need to find innovative ways to deal with it, essentially, and, make it convenient for our customer and a pleasant experience all around.
Jack, it's interesting because I booked a service appointment about 2 weeks ago. The dealership where I do business uses X time. I booked it on X time because it was in the evening after hours, like 10 o'clock at night. Yet I still call the dealership, right? I still phone them. How has, Jack, how has Brook.ai affected your appointment process?
Yeah, absolutely. So previous to Brook, our Nissan store where we launched it was very, very high in walk-in traffic. And, when you're a heavy walk-in traffic store, you never know when a guest is coming, and it's hard to plan for that. So where Brooke and Tiffany's team actually helped us identify a weakness in our process. And, what we found was if somebody did call into the store to say they wanted to make an appointment for some of the easier or quick service items, we would kind of force them to walk in. It's not that they wanted to, but we would force them to do that. So this whole process has really helped us streamline what we're doing. So now we know when people are coming in, we have a good appointment system. Our walk-in versus appointments are going in the right direction. In fact, we've increased our appointment percentage by over 15% since implementing Brook. And the benefit of that is obviously, when people are coming for the most part, and you can be better prepared. So that gives our advisors a lot more time to focus on the guest experience instead of answering phones. So it's had a very, very positive impact on our appointment process.
Yuri, let me come back to you. What's the impact been on your Nissan store, your Nissan dealership?
So I have like three things I wanted to say, but I'll start. My first thing will be a story. And the story is, traditionally, especially at our Nissan store, when the service manager would come in the morning, there would be a line of cars going out the door all the way to the road. And the impact is, I was speaking with the service manager a few months into using Brook, and he said, it's kind of scaring me because every time I come to the store in the morning, there is no cars lined up outside the service drive. And he's thinking, oh man, maybe the business is down. Maybe, something's terribly wrong. But then he gets in and he starts to notice that there is actually appointments perfectly staggered throughout the day instead of, all the major lift all happening at 9 a.m, essentially, between like 7 and 10 a.m. This is your entire day's business. So that'd be my first kind of impact. The second one has been shop flow. So this is, again, feedback from the service manager that said, it's interesting because once we proliferated this appointment culture and kind of moved further away from the walk-in, he could easily see how the shop flow is doing in general and is able to identify dry spots within the day, within the week, the day, the specific hour of where things can be done. And then he can use, the appointment capacities to drive people to that hour or that day when it's usually slow. And Brook helps with that because then Brook, of course, says this is availability and drives the customers into that direction. And the final one I forgot.
Well, I want to come back to you if I can, on that appointment culture that you just mentioned, Yuri. People come in all at one time, typically in the service department. Even when they have an appointment process, they still all show up at whether it's 7:30 or 8 o'clock. But that sounds like it's a little different now at your place.
It is. It's working. One thing internally that we did to kind of facilitate for that culture to work properly was put extra emphasis on, if there is an appointment, we need to make sure to, take that person within a reasonable amount of their appointment time. So 5-10 minutes, not they show up at the appointment time and then wait 45 minutes to get their car taken. And I think that's really important because that creates, that kind of brings to the dealer world what people have come to expect, let's say in dentist appointments as well as the restaurant industry. You don't want to make an appointment, show up to the restaurant and then wait 45 minutes. So we're kind of trying to bring those social norms into dealer world. And I think that's what made it really successful, because returning customers are very likely now to go and, let's just schedule an appointment because it's much easier and I can properly allocate my time and get the service that I'm expecting.
Yeah, and Yuri, I'm really glad that you told that story. It's one of my favorite stories. That was on that call that day that he was like, it freaked me out when I walked in at 9 and there was no cars in line. But then I looked and I saw my appointments spread out over the course of the day. Something else that would happen there, I remember him, the service manager there saying, we're kind of slow in the afternoons. So with some, adjustments and tweaks to settings in X time, we were able to kind of move some of those appointments later in the afternoon, right? Those are the first available ones. So that's what Brooke offers up front, gets the customer in a little bit sooner. So now the advisors are less stressed out in the morning and it's kind of a better flow of traffic all throughout the day. So I think we're, improving the customer experience, sure, answering the phone faster, decreasing wait times, but it's also simultaneously improving the employee experience, which I think is something that, sometimes we can forget about. We're making their jobs and their lives a little bit easier too. So it makes it easier for them to take good care of the customers. And I think that's really important. We also, because we adjusted some of those settings and we were kind of able to work with that store to adjust their process more towards an appointment culture, a happy kind of side effect to the whole thing was the drastic change in web appointment rates as well. I know that was something that I can't remember where it started and where it went, but I know that there was something that we saw some positive change there also, which was exciting.
Yeah, I think one thing I did want to attribute to Tiffany's team is, and we kind of started spreading this approach to other locations, even the ones that don't have Brooke, is in order for Brooke to be successful, you need proper appointment capacities to be allocated because everything is based off of these appointment capacities. Well, with Tiffany's team, they did a phenomenal job of just kind of driving, hey, we need improvement here in order to get these allocations really ironed out. And so it was kind of a side effect of Brooke was to get almost a template of how to get online appointments set up in other locations. So I just wanted to kind of give that, because that was a phenomenal help to us in general.
Yeah, I think part of being successful with this is working with folks like Yuri, Jack, working with fixed ops directors and really the service managers and understanding fixed operations, understanding how the flow of traffic in a service department needs to work, both for the customer and for the advisor and for the service manager, based on all the different transportation options and how your tool fits into that process, is imperative to have a digital voice assistant that's going to work for that dealership, right? So having a vast understanding and knowledge of retail fixed operations is imperative for this to be a value add to a store and not a disruptor, right?
All right, so I'm thinking of Jack. Jack is going out and he's telling the staff that we're going to have a digital voice assistant now take the calls. Jack, I'm wondering, what was the response initially from your staff, and what has it been over time now that Brook.ai has been integrated?
Yeah, that's a great question. Service departments are inherently very busy and very habit driven. So you want to change anything, it's always difficult to get them to do something different than what they're doing every day. And so we had a little bit of resistance, But luckily, Yuri had chosen a store where the service manager understood that there were issues, didn't think everything was rosy and perfect, and we're just trying to change a great process. So he was open to change, but very hesitant. And I know Tiffany and her team were great about helping us with suggestions, like has already been said. So in the beginning, it was tough, but as we went on and the service manager and his team could actually see that things were getting better, we just got more and more acceptance. And then we were able to continue to massage the capacities and make more availability for Brooke and anybody that wanted to make a web appointment in general. So very, very positive. But I think you have to know going in, there's a learning curve because we're just habit driven and we don't like to change necessarily. But now that we are into it, I don't think anybody would ever want to go back to not having Brooke. And the service manager and I talk often, and he makes note that there has been no negative comments and surveys and customer surveys from the factory. Everything has been positive, and he wouldn't want to be without it at this point.
Jack, this is used in other industries. It's used in the airline industry, banking, among others, and we think nothing of it as a consumer, right? What about the response? Any difference from customers as well? I'm just curious because I'm thinking as the audience might ask a question like that as well. What have you heard, Jack?
Sure. I think it's a learning curve for the customer. And so I know for me being, a customer of that store too, when I tried Brooke, at first, I didn't exactly know what was going to happen, but I think Brooke does a great job of knowing what's next. And if you're already a customer in that store, it's pulling up your file and it knows everything. So it's taking time out of the process just because there's things that don't have to be reviewed necessarily. I think what happens is after somebody uses it once, they understand what's coming next, they understand the process, and it just becomes more and more smooth. And so we've had very good response from our customers. And it's something that we talk about a lot just to make sure that we're not upsetting people with trying to put something in front of them that they are not comfortable with. But it's been very positive so far.
Tiffany, let me come to you. I know there's a lot of new ingredients in Brook.ai as well that you have introduced and are introducing and have planned as well.
So we've, Ted, as you know, we launched our application almost 4 years ago. We took it to market. And we have spent the last 4 years perfecting how we book appointments. So we have spent a significant amount of time adding logic into the technology that ensures that we book appointments correctly, regardless of the data that we're pulling, right? So we're able to handle duplicate records. We're able to handle multiple vehicles associated with one record so that we can ensure that we're booking that customer the right way. We're booking to the right shop. We're booking the right vehicle. We're booking under the right profile so that, again, we can make the job easy for the employees in the store. In Jack and Yuri's case, these advisors, we don't want to make them look for anything or fix anything. We want to do it right the first time. So that's what we spent a lot of our time doing. Now we're actually adding, we've introduced generative AI. We've introduced large and small language models. So you guys are aware that we recommend services on inbound calls, mileage-based maintenance, and we recommend recalls where the vehicle has an open recall. We've introduced now, we use generative AI to kind of summarize the work, right? So if the customer says, what's included in that package, we can kind of summarize it for them and say, for this maintenance package, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Do you want to go ahead and add that now? Customer can say yes. We have recently drastically updated our voice now that we've kind of perfected that booking appointment process. We've perfected the upsell process. Now it's time for us to focus on perfecting the sound. And so we have just introduced a new Brooke persona, a new voice. It's far more human-like. It is more reactive, meaning it responds a lot quicker. Our accuracy rate for understanding what the customer is requesting and booking it correctly is 95+%. So we're able to remove portions of the call where we were previously validating to ensure I'm booking that correctly. You're bringing it in for this. Well, now we found we don't need to do that anymore because we're right. So we're shortening the length of the call, which is really exciting.
Good. Mm-hmm.
We're also live with Spanish and French Canadian.
I saw that.
We can completely handle these other languages and still book the appointment, but push the notes for the advisors to see in English so they can still read it in their own language. So those are just some of the new features and functionalities that we've released. And we're super excited for the launch of SMS support as well, which I think Jack and Yuri are maybe going to go into beta testing with us. So we're super excited to use that. I've tested it and it's awesome. So I can't wait to introduce it to the world.
Yuri, hearing some of these developments that Tiffany's talking about, what are you excited about in terms of the future of this tech, this kind of technology, as it continues to evolve in the near future?
So kind of when we look at like the 70s and 80s, we have the personal computing evolution, and I would say like late 90s, early 2000s, we get into the internet, and then social media kind of leads into now. I think we're kind of in the heyday of artificial intelligence. I think this is like the scrappiest time. So anytime I speak to anybody about AI in general, what I would say is think about it this way. We are literally at the absolute worst AI will ever be. Tiffany mentioned a couple of things. I mean, proliferation of large language models that has fundamentally changed how people view AI up to this point. I think there is a lot of things that are coming, from a conversational AI like Brooke. I think making it more conversational, more human, making the interaction flow a lot more like a regular conversation with a person, I think will soon be there and is very much on the horizon. I think the ability to, interrupt Brooke and just start like, hey, interrupt and being able to move the conversation into a different direction will be huge. More dynamic responses, again, leveraging that generative AI, I think that will come soon as well. And just, voices, maybe we want Samuel Jackson to take appointments or something like that. I don't know. Why not? Let's do it. Right.
I love that. I'm more of a Morgan Freeman girl, but
we'll get Morgan. Having Morgan Freeman taking service appointments would be wonderful. Or I think if Morgan Freeman explained recommended services, frankly, your bottom line would go up.
Yuri, you may be onto something with that. I like that.
We got Morgan Freeman. I think Tiffany, write that down. I think that's the way. Get a little Morgan Freeman in there for recommended services. It'll be a hit.
I think our audience is going to like that for the best practices as well. And that's Tiffany. That's a great. The point is, there's so much we could do, right?
All joking aside, that is a goal in the future. Not necessarily Morgan Freeman specifically, but it is a goal of ours to. There are certain ways that our stores can customize how they use Brooke. Right? They're able to set it to where certain requests are automatically transferred or certain transportation options are automatically transferred. Or if they want Brooke to take voice messages for certain types of requests, we can take messages and send them out via email for the customer. So there are ways that our stores can customize the application. However, with the introduction of some of the new voice modeling that we're introducing, the goal is to potentially allow our stores to create their own personas. Right. So they can kind of select different voices or names or dialects, depending on where their stores are, so that, people buy from and work with people they like. So why not make the technology sound more like who they are? Right. So that is part of the goal in the very, very near future. So we're excited about that, too.
I think you're right. We are just at the beginning, and so much happening right now that our industry is enjoying and taking advantage of. I want to thank and congratulate Jack and Yuri from Fox Motors for being with us today. Fixed Ops Roundtable certified. Again, congratulations to you and the group. Tiffany, congratulations to you. A lot of big happenings with Brook.ai. I know a lot coming in the pipeline, so you continue to set the pace, and we're going to continue to watch what Brook.ai is doing, because we know it's the best of the best. So, our hats off to you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it. And thanks for having me, as always, and for having Yuri and Jack here with us, too. They've been a great partner, and we're excited to continue our relationship with them and take this thing all the way.
Everybody, for more information on Brook.ai, visit them on the web, Brook.ai. They're all over social media. You can't miss them. I want to thank Tiffany Peeler, Yuri, and Jack for being with us today. Everybody, the Brook.ai panel here today with Fox Motors at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Batter up, hit it out of the park as we make it back to home at the Fixed Ops Roundtable Summer Palooza event.
Grab a pair of shades and meet the bright leaders in our next segment. It's the RevolutionParts Leadership Panel.
Welcome back to RevolutionParts, everybody. This is the panel on empowering the parts manager to drive more parts sales. We have an A-list panel today, headed by Tom Blackman, who is the parts manager. He's at Olathe Toyota over in Kansas, is with us today. Scott Traub is with us, corporate parts director at Modern Automotive in North Carolina. And Mike King from RevolutionParts is with us as well today. Gentlemen, welcome back to the panel, and appreciate you all being here today.
Glad to be here.
All right. Busy time in our industry, probably no time more exciting than what's happening now. A lot of change happening throughout, not just fixed operations, but now the focus has come on parts, especially in recent years and now more than ever before. Empowering the parts manager and giving them the right tools and the knowledge to leverage e-commerce. It's not always like it was in the past. Things are changing significantly. And I want to ask you gentlemen about that today. You're leaders in the field. Tom, I want to come to you first on the question. What do you think stops, let's say, a general manager at the top of the chain in the dealership from wanting to pursue e-commerce in their dealership?
Well, some of it might be lack of confidence in their parts manager and their ability for that department to be able to add that tool to their toolbox. I also think that Revolution Parts does a really good job of training and helping us bring it on board. But at the same time, general managers don't always understand it. Parts departments are usually the one department that they've never worked in. So a little bit of lack of understanding of everything that goes on back here. Only my opinion.
Yeah. A lot of general managers came up through the sales side, right, Tom?
And service side.
Yeah. And they may understand things like used car inventory, a whole lot better than, let's say, parts.
Right.
Scott, what are your thoughts? What's holding the general manager back in many dealerships?
Along the same lines as what Tom mentioned. I mean, I think it's understanding, right? So I was a general manager before I came into this role. I was lucky enough to have a fixed ops background and a parts background. So, but most GMs don't, and most GMs probably don't spend a tremendous amount of their time on the parts operation or around the parts operation. They're focused on sales, they're focused on the service departments and service lanes and taking care of customers, but not so much on the opportunity that is around the parts department and particularly e-commerce. So I think it really is just really it kind of gets overlooked because they don't necessarily understand it or live in that space as much as maybe they should.
Scott, your organization covers a lot of ground there. Give us the lay of the land about how many rooftops and geographic location.
So Modern is a total of 16 dealerships. In addition to the dealerships, we operate 6 collision centers. We have a 80,000 square foot parts warehouse that we run our wholesale operation out of, and our e-commerce business. And then we have a conversion company that does some upfit stuff on trucks and whatnot. But yeah, so about total about 21, 22 rooftops.
Did you have to get each individual general manager on board, or what was the process early on? And how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I mean, we were already doing some e-commerce when I moved from being a GM into this role. So we were doing some. We had one site at that point, our GM site. But yeah, I mean, you had to go sell it to the GM, right? So that's kind of where I came in after I understood what Revolution could provide. But at that point, then it became up to me to go sell it to the GM and get his buy-in before we started down that road. Like I said, we already had some experience with it, so we had a little bit, we could show some real results. But yeah, somebody has to do their homework and then be able to get the powers that be to buy in.
Tom, what about in your case? How did you get that buy-in?
Well, we started about 15 years ago, and just kind of on a whim and a little bit of an accident, actually. They were doing some search engine marketing and sales, and I kind of piggybacked on it. And lo and behold, we started selling parts. And so we gradually brought it on board. We made about every mistake you can make, but we learned from all of them and developed processes over time. We joined Revolution, 7 or 8 years ago, and saw a substantial increase, and just worked through the problems and got better and better at it, and got to the point where we're at today, which it's a third of my business.
Scott, let me come back to you with a follow-up question. You had to get those general managers on board. What about the parts managers at all these locations? They're a big stakeholder as well.
No, absolutely they are. I think we had their buy-in pretty quickly. I mean, I'm fortunate. I have a good group of managers here at Modern, and they all want to grow their business, and they saw it as an opportunity to do that. Again, you need to educate them. You need to give them the lay of the land and what the opportunity exactly looks like for them to totally buy in. But they're all like-minded and want to grow their business, and saw it as an opportunity.
Mike King, you deal with a whole nation, okay, with Revolution Parts, bringing your retail experience. What about these stories that we're hearing, between Tom and Scott? Are these unusual? Again, you've got, a multi-point organization with a central distribution center, Tom's dealership. What do you think, Mike?
Well, to Tom's point, I think, getting the general managers to buy in does come with the level of confidence in the parts manager. I mean, if you've got an aggressive parts manager who runs a clean store, it's a little easier sell. Then we have to educate them. This is the world of e-com. General manager, again, to Tom's point, they don't spend a lot of time in the parts room. It's kind of like what happens behind the curtain type of environment. I mean, they see the operating documents at the end of the month that say, yeah, you did a good job or you didn't. But, what happens between A and Z is really kind of a mystery to most general managers because they didn't start in the parts room. So the ability to educate them to a point where they understand the Revolution platform is a tool, and it's a great tool. And as leaders, our job is to supply our people with the best tools available to make them successful. And the Revolution platform is the tool that's going to allow them to be successful in the world of e-com. That and the desire to be successful. I mean, if you buy the tool and you don't use it, there's not a lot that's going to come from it. But if you buy the tool and you use it to its capabilities, the sky's the limit. I mean, we've got dealers in our arena that are doing literally millions of dollars a month in business. So everything is possible.
Mike, I saw a stat very recently. I believe it was republished by Revolution Parts that online parts and accessory sales are projected to grow by 50% online over the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you and your dealership going to get the piece of the pie?
Yeah, I want my piece, that's for sure. Society has taught people to buy from home. To go into the brick and mortar store to purchase something, those days are starting to go in the back in the rearview mirror. So you have to position yourself to be there for these people to find you and buy those parts that they need.
Tom, I know that parts managers speak to other parts managers. Is this a tough sale today where we are, for parts managers to get online?
Not really, but I'll be completely honest with you. I don't want to see more Toyota dealers come on board. I want the lion's share, just like Scott probably does. But to answer your question, yeah, we talk about it. I mean, we talk about it in meetings. Some parts managers are aggressive, so instinctively they want to try anything, that's going to help them grow their business. And other ones just don't want anything to do with it. They look at it as a whole lot of work, and it is. It's hard work.
Scott, let me come to you. For the folks watching today at home, how can general managers help their parts managers understand the importance and the need of selling parts online? I know you've been down this road.
Well, yeah. So I'll put my GM hat on for a minute and just kind of talk from that perspective. So, we're looking for to get a return on our investment and return on and a return on the store's operations, and having the ability to open your parts department 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Why would you not want to go down that road? And I'll follow up on something Mike said. I mean, I'll tell you, just from sitting in our operations and looking at retail counters, the brick and mortar days are behind us.
Yes.
There's nobody at our retail counters, not like it used to be. So it's gone already. And those parts are being bought somewhere. and it's remarkable to watch this thing work literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if I'm a GM, why would you not want your facility open those hours and available to people to purchase in those hours? So I think it's really a no-brainer when you think of it in that regard.
And Scott, it seems to be picking up speed, especially in the last year. There's more and more focus on that online. It's moving fast.
It is. I mean, our growth is we're up 36% this year in sales in our e-commerce business. So it's going to be a record year for us. And interestingly enough, we're a CDK dealer. So back in June when CDK went down and we were struggling to figure out how we could do business, and we were doing business all manually, the e-commerce part of our business just sailed along. So that never stopped, and it was an independent platform, so we could track everything and keep things rolling and moving. And then, once the DMS came back up, we could catch back up on the DMS side of things. But because it was totally independent, we were still moving along with our e-commerce business. It wasn't as easy in the service lanes.
I bet. Wow, that's fascinating. That's good to know. Tom,
and I was going to back exactly what Scott said, because we're a CDK dealer as well, and that the RevolutionParts corner of the business just moved along normally.
Yep.
And was easily rebuilt once CDK came back up.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else, the service department, it was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Mike King, a lot of dealers around the country struggled, during that period. And it forced us back to things that we haven't done in 30 years or longer, pen and pencil and clipboards out on the service lane, to Scott's point. Michael King, that's a big differentiator to have this type of platform.
Oh, without a doubt. And we actually saw a large number of the Revolution dealers see big upticks in business because customers were calling a dealer that had CDK, didn't pivot like Tom and Scott and make it work, and say, I can't sell you something, our computers are down. Okay, fine. So they go online, they find stores like Tom's and Scott's, and they buy what they need. So it was really a big advantage for Revolution dealers because they were picking up the slack. There was 15,000 dealers down nationwide or worldwide.
Yeah.
That was a lot of frustrated customers that went looking for parts, and they were finding them on the Revolution stores. So that was a big uptick for us.
That's huge. And Tom, I don't recall a period any time in recent history that something like that happened, but to have the RevolutionParts platform, not only to be open 24/7, but you didn't go down at all. You were up and running, and I imagine very good for business.
Yeah, we got pretty resourceful pretty quick, but fortunately the system's easy to use. Therefore, we really didn't have any problems in that corner of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, a lot of leaders watching this panel today. What do you say about that? What would you say to them?
Well, I mean, I think one thing we learned out of that whole experience with the CDK outage is you just don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, and we probably still had too many eggs in one basket, even with the Revolution platform. But it just really drove that home. That having a platform that can operate totally independently of your DMS and take care of that piece of the business. It just proved to be invaluable. It was a pretty big lesson.
Mike, you've got Tom Blackman and Scott Traub, two of the best in the nation here when it comes to parts. They've been in the online business with RevolutionParts for some time now. Mike, I know you speak with a lot of decision makers, a lot of general managers yourself. What do you think general managers can do to support the success of their parts department? Because really the leader needs to support what's going out there in the field to help them drive more sales and to make the transition online?
Honestly, I think from a general manager standpoint, I think educate yourself. Sit down together with your parts manager and talk the subject through. What can this do for us? Is it a good investment? What can we expect for a return? And then reach out and get one of the guys or girls at Revolution Parts to set up a meeting and just to explain it to you. This is how it works. This is what to expect. And, to Tom's point, e-commerce is work. You don't just hit a button and that whole you build it and they will come. That's not reality. But for those that want to put the work in, who do run successful stores like Tom and Scott, the rewards are there and they're there for the taking. So just educate yourself on the platform, have someone explain to you or discuss with you its benefits, and then don't be afraid. I mean, even if you open an e-com store today, you're already 20 years behind. So there's a lot of catching up to do.
Mm-hmm. Mike, is it too late to get in the game?
Oh God, no. At the pace that e-com is growing, and we're only a very small portion of total part sales right now, but it grows exponentially every single year. I mean, from where it was when I started in 2006 to where it is today, there's no comparison. It's enormous compared to then. So why wouldn't it be enormous 20 years into the future?
Tom, we talked a little bit about competition and, maybe not wanting the competition to find out exactly what you're doing, but really, your competition now is not just there locally. Okay. You got, because you're selling parts, I would imagine, all throughout the country. You're on both coasts. You're selling them in markets that you probably never imagined when you originally got started.
I agree. And, really our competition is the aftermarket. I mean, that's reality.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we're selling in 50 states almost every day.
All right. So if a dealer is watching this, Tom, and they're not in your local market area, not there locally, but they're somewhere else in the country and they're selling genuine OEM parts, what can they do to support their parts department and getting online and driving sales? How do we call attention to that for the parts manager and the folks in that department?
Well, just like Michael was saying earlier, educating the parts manager on what's available with Revolution Parts, how it works. Okay, how can we put together a game plan? What kind of personnel are we going to need? Are we going to use what we have? Now we have to put a shipping department together. You have a lot of, you're going to start buying boxes, shipping supplies,
right.
Et cetera, et cetera. You can kind of piece a plan together. And then I would also look at pay plans. Pay plans, as I've always said, dictate behavior, quite frankly. And, putting a pay plan in place to help engage this and move it forward, probably pay substantial gains down the line.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Scott, there are new pieces here. The shipping piece, I know Revolution Parts helps quite a bit with that, but talk to us about those nuances that are different to online, and then perhaps even on the compensation part, being able to look at that.
Well, I think, I think there's lots of opportunities depending on the structure of your organization and how you want to kind of put this thing together. But, I think from a general manager standpoint and engaging the parts manager and helping them get started. I mean, we said it already. There's a lot of times where the parts manager doesn't get kind of the same attention as some of the other department managers. So there's a big opportunity to use this as a way to engage the parts manager more than he has been in the past. And work on a process here that is new to the store and new to the parts manager and the general manager together, and make it something from that standpoint. As far as pay plans, and organizing it. I think it depends on the layout of the organization. One of the things we did probably 5-6 years ago is tried to take the e-commerce person out of each parts department and centralize that, and have them have just a couple people out handle all our stores, and that's been very successful for us. It's helped keep cost in line. You don't have to add particularly a person to just do e-com in each rooftop. We're able to, in our case, divide six different stores, 6 different sites, just between 2 people to handle that with some help from Revolution. That gives you a different opportunity, a way to structure pay plans, and also mitigate that situation where you maybe have a parts manager that isn't quite as engaged as you would like them to be engaged. You can kind of work around that a little bit.
Mike, this is really out of the box thinking. Okay. Are you seeing this as well around the country in groups? Like, I know you've got other groups, like big groups like Scott's, that do this for multiple franchises.
Yeah. Well, Tom hit upon one thing when he said, setting up a shipping department. And, the reality of it is, when you start in e-com, you really don't need more people, more shipping. You don't need a shipping department, because you're going to grow into these things. As you grow, you'll hit different stages of your journey where it's okay. Now it's time for a dedicated person. Now it's time for a dedicated shipping department. So these things, it's not like you got to take all these expenses, dump them on from day one, and then say, all right, how do I pay the bills? You actually grow into those. And shipping's one of my favorite subjects when it comes to e-com, because coming from a wholesale background myself, you grow wholesale, you grow expenses. Another truck, another driver, more returns. E-com, you're not paying a driver to deliver something to somebody. You're getting paid to deliver something to somebody. So now you're generating yet another revenue stream. You've got more part sales and you've got shipping sales. And the whole thing collectively is just a great way to add revenue to the department.
Right. Gentlemen, last question for today. We're coming into an important part of the year. A lot of dealers and decision makers and parts managers as well watching this. A lot of people throughout the retail spectrum. If you had a minute, okay, to give a little bit of advice to your fellow managers out there in retail who are not yet into online part sales, but you only have a minute in this lightning round, I'd like to come to Tom first, Scott second, and Mike to bring it home. What would you tell them? Because a lot of dealerships are doing their forecast. The groups are doing that now as we're coming into this part of the year. Tom first, you got a minute to talk to your peers, and then Scott, and then Mike to bring it home.
Well, I'm going to repeat what Scott's already said, and it really hit home. Brick and mortar retail is dying, and I see it. He sees it. Mike, I'm sure he's got a wholesale background, but I'm sure he sees it in dealerships as well. We just don't see the walk-in retail customer that we used to see 10 years ago, let's say. So this is the direction that everything's going. I mean, take a look at your own life and how, simple it is to buy online and just have it delivered to your house. It's, rather than having to get up and go someplace. This is just basic thinking, but that's the reality of it. We're losing the front counter customer.
And now the part comes to you. Okay. I like it. Scott.
Yeah, I would just say you have nothing to lose. There's no downside to this. If you're willing to put a little bit of work in and a little bit of thinking behind the processes that you need to implement in the operation, you have no downside. You turn this thing on and business is going to start to come with a little bit of work. But the opportunity is endless. It just depends on how aggressive you want to be in the space. But again, we've said it a couple times. that piece of the business has disappeared. So you're down to the service lane and whatever wholesale you do. And Mike, you're exactly right. I mean, we run a big wholesale operation, you know that. And when you look at these two as side by side, and the fact that what we spend to run all our trucks and deliver a part to somebody at a very, very low gross versus what we sell online at a better gross and with a shipping profit on top of that. I mean, again, you have no downside here. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to look seriously at it and get involved. We continue to grow it every year because it just makes sense to continue to grow it. And, there's, as much as I don't want competition, like Tom mentioned, there's plenty for everybody in the space. There truly is.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
Mike?
1 minute, the elevator speech. It's like anything else. You have to evolve. Times change, business changes, your customer base changes. You've got to evolve. And, to Scott's point and to Tom's point, retail at the counter is gone. Wholesale it's still lucrative, but it's a really hard fought battle to be profitable in wholesale. E-com, I always equate evolving with the times to Sears. Sears was the original e-retailer, if you think about it. The big book came out every year in time for Christmas, and they were hugely successful, but never evolved. Mm-hmm. And this whole e-commerce thing just rolled over them, and now they're not with us anymore. So, look at the landscape, look at your competition, look at your customer base, and figure out the best way to service them and still return a profit for the dealership while doing it. And I mean, e-com and the Revolution platform is really the tool.
Yep. Great advice, everybody. We'll have to leave it there. Tom Blackman, thank you so much for everything today. Scott Traub, thank you again on behalf of the retail fixed ops community for all you do for the industry. Mike King at Revolution Parts. I guess the next step for our audience is to take that next step. They can visit revolutionparts.com and find out more and get underway in this new revolution, if you will.
Yep. Get the journey started.
All right. Everybody, on behalf of the Fixed Ops community, thank you for your time today. The Revolution Parts panel here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
All right.
Take a moment now to pull out your phones to scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the Shon Butler Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the event. Remember, every vote counts, so make sure to shed light on the 5 speakers or panelists who you think are making waves by casting your vote. And don't forget, you can only vote once. We are over the moon to head back to Northwood University for our next panel featuring our friends from TradePending.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Katrina Ness, joined by Ted Ings, and we have an amazing group here with us today. This is the Online Marketing TradePending panel. Gentlemen, will you please introduce yourselves?
Shon Kingrey from the Kaiser Automotive Group, Madison, Wisconsin.
Tony Owens, Germain Motor Company. Richard Lupo, Apple Tree Automotive, Asheville, North Carolina.
Owen Moon with TradePending, which recently acquired Fixed Ops Digital.
Everybody, we're here today at Northwood University. We're in beautiful Midland, Michigan. Owen, if I could, let me start with you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Owen, why has online service marketing become such a huge focus in our industry right now?
Yeah, great question. You know, it really has kind of come to the forefront over the last few years. I think a lot of it has been circumstantial, right? I mean, when you look at like COVID, you look at the inventory shortages we had, there was just a lot of challenges on the variable side. And so I think dealers had to really lean in on the service departments to keep their business running during those time frames and to, you know, kind of just put a new emphasis on fixed operations. And so, you know, now that that's happened, I think they looked at that and said, hey, we need to keep that going, even though, you know, some of our current conditions have kind of come back. And so I really believe that that was one of the biggest things, at least from what we saw, you know, with our growth and kind of the way we go about helping stores is they were definitely leaning in on that department over the last few years.
And Richard, that's something you've got into as well, online service marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to find a way to connect with your customers. And, you know, the buzzwords, omni-channel, things like that. You know, our demographic of our customers, we still have a direct mail component that still has a large signal, but we are all over social media, banner ads, you know, remarketing or retargeting, all those things, just 360 degrees touching that customer as many different ways as we can, partnering with companies like Fixed Ops Digital to do that online marketing.
And Tony, I know Germain Motor Company is a big part of that. Hardly a day goes by when I don't see a post from you on LinkedIn. Why the importance of all that?
Well, Owen hit that right on the head. There is nothing more important, particularly since COVID, that these things take place. There's so many new ways to go about this, and his company is very good at it. And I can't place enough emphasis on the importance of keeping that relationship going with your customer in every way possible, whether it be social media, whatever the case may be, advertising. It's extremely important to reach everyone.
And I know, Shon, it's something that you noticed when you got to Kaiser Automotive Group, because we had a conversation about that.
We did, you know, and it's funny, you can't underestimate how informed customers are these days. Clients know more about the cars than you do, and you have to understand that, you have to accept it. It's not just on the variable side, it's on the fixed sides too. And obviously, Owen and I have had a relationship for many years, and he brings that to the forefront. He makes sure your ads are meaningful, they're truthful, and they match up with the OEMs have.
And you're a client of TradePending Fixed Ops.
I am, absolutely. He has all my stores.
Okay, super.
Wonderful. I'm going to ask you guys, what are some effective ways to help bring customers into your dealership? We'll start with Shon.
You know, I think you have to go after what's after them. I mean, I hate oil change coupons are what they are, but people are still looking for those. You can't forget those. And as we only see clients now every 10,000 miles or even longer, it's more important than ever that you're in their face. You have to remind them, because when they're due, they're due. I'm a firm believer that even if you did a free oil change, if you're not due for one, you're not going to go to one. We don't make it convenient to get service at a dealership. We all know that. So you wouldn't come in. And again, this is just not all about Owen, but they have to be in their face. They have to be relevant. They have to be for what the client's looking for at the time.
Tony, anything you want to add to that?
Well, you know, that's where computers really take a big deal on this. It's about knowing your customers, knowing their needs. You can't get every one of them the same way. You can find out what most of your customers need, or majority of customers need, based on what they're telling you, what you're listening to them. And that's extremely important. Do the research and know what these customers need and market that way.
Richard, when we were down at Asheville at your dealerships, I know that was a conversation that we had about online service marketing.
Oh, absolutely. Connecting with your customers in a straightforward, honest manner, keeping your brand, Appletree in our case, top of mind when it's time, when you're due. The biggest way to drive customers in is to retain them. That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
And then gaining new business, going out in the market and letting people know what we're about, and connecting through being out in the community, being online, talking to them about what we do, who we are, what our values are, where our place in the community is. Not just, if we have to send out the oil change coupons and reminders, but let them know who we are and what we represent. Because, the presence of knowing the corporate values of a company have become very relevant in recent years.
What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think touch points are really the most important thing when you look at it globally, right? We kicked that door down 5 years ago and said, hey, your consumers are online. Let's make sure we reach out to them. But then you start talking to dealers and you're like, they're not even necessarily doing good retention programs, and they're not talking to their customers about recalls and warranties. So it's really understanding the different revenue pillars that are in the fixed ops department, and then putting a strategy together that hits all of them. Like, email marketing and text messaging, I think is a much better play for a current customer, somebody that is opted in, somebody that you have a relationship with, and then maybe reaching out to them with Facebook ads and maybe, paid search, where you have that conquesting initiative to try to drive customers in that might not have been your customers.
Oh, and I want to pivot a little bit, if I may, and talk about video.
Yeah.
We live today in a video world, and now something that you've done at TradePending is bringing the technician out of just being in the shop, but putting them on video and having the technician explain to the customer in short videos what they saw. How important is doing things like that?
Video is huge. It creates trust, authenticity, and really gives the consumer that visual of like, hey, this is something that needs to be done. Maybe it's brake pads, maybe it's a filter. It's one thing to put it on a phone call, call the customer and talk about it, put it on an email. But when you can actually show them in video, you are going to get more of those additional recommended services.
Excellent. Shon, anything you want to add in video?
It's funny, and we talk about it. We've done some panels together lately with some technicians. Clients trust technicians more than they trust the advisor. It's weird to say that, but it's always been 30 years of doing this. It hasn't changed. As soon as the technician shows them their car, it's kind of done. It kind of sells itself.
Richard, video is everywhere in our lives now, and now it's worked its way into fixed ops. It's into the shop.
Yeah, no, we utilize the online video inspections, and having been in the business a long time, we used to take and walk the customer out to the car and show them the car. And, we've got away from that. And now we're back to that in a virtual sense. And that connection between that car, that customer, and the hands that are working on it is invaluable.
Coming back to you, Owen,
yeah.
The customer trusts the technician.
Yes.
And that's an important step there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when they're the experts, they're the certified technician, they're the ones that work on these cars every day. Who would be the best person to get that trust to the consumer than the technician?
Everybody, one final question, if I may, for everybody in the panel, starting with Owen. What should franchise dealerships expect now for the balance of 2024 and coming into 2025? Things are changing so rapidly. I know you and I see it on the Fixed Ops Roundtable every few months. What can we expect?
There's a report that came out recently talking about that 20% of consumers are behind on their oil changes. So we're actually seeing it go backwards. Like when I first started talking to stores 5 years ago about this type of thing, people are like, oh, I don't need any more oil change business. That's changing, right? So we have to take the current conditions and adapt our marketing to that. And I think that's something that as we move into the rest of this year, into 2025, again, kind of looking at everything in pillars and then coming up with the best strategies to reach those maintenance customers, to reach those general repair customers, to reach those recall customers. You have to look at everything individually. You cannot, make it a global strategy. So,
Richard, same question. What can franchise dealers expect 2024 going into next year?
We can expect to have to be in touch with our customers even more as there's uncertainty in the markets. It's a 4-year cycle that we go through, and there's uncertainty. And if you put yourself in the eyes of a consumer, you have to be able to be that person, that company that is their choice, because those choices come harder when there's uncertainty surrounding it. And through the balance of 24 and into 25, I think that it's the most important thing that we can do is be top of mind for our customers and let them know that when they do make those choices, that they're making the right choice to do business with us.
Tony, if you look into your crystal ball for the balance of this year and next year, what do you see ahead in terms of online service market?
More of the same and then some. Great car people know what's going on ahead. You have to see these things coming. Extremely important that you do that. They're great chess players in a rule. The biggest thing is that I see is a lot more of the same. and keep researching ahead. A lot of your owners right now are owning older cars. So you're going to focus on that a little bit. And I imagine that's going to grow because the front end is so up and down, and it's going to remain that way probably because it's a cycle. That's the way the car business is. Focus on the older cars right now is what I would do.
Shon, you're seeing a lot of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to go off of what Owen, because I don't need to beat down what they've already said. You know, if people are really 20% over on their oil changes, guess with the intervals we're going now, it's a scary number. I mean, you're talking 12 to 15,000 miles, and it is what it is. They're not made to go that long. My challenge would be to test your marketing. Go on your own website, see where your websites are, see what message you're sending out to your clients. If you got a coupon out there that still has a 2023 date on it, because it happens, you got to test yourself. Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for being here with us on the panel today. Owen, thank you. TradePending, Fixed Ops Digital, formerly, again, for being here, not just on the roundtable, but at beautiful Roundtable University in Midland, Michigan.
Thank you.
Everybody, we have a lot more coming up. Stay with us on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We will be right back.
Service Offers, powered by TradePending, turns your website into a service marketing machine by simplifying the process of managing your dealership's service specials across all channels and your website. Dealers love this valuable resource for service customers because it adapts the service offers to your local weather automatically, bringing relevancy and sizzle to your service marketing. Customers can utilize our third-party financial partnership for an easy payment schedule, reducing declined and deferred services. It increases service business with a vehicle recall lookup while capturing the customer information and notifying your team. It interactively educates your customers about services while converting them into appointments with embedded call to action buttons. We focus on the schedule, click to call, save offer, and recall lookup CTAs to really drive your service appointments. With Service Offers, powered by TradePending, you'll be setting more appointments with happier, longer-lasting customers.
Our next speaker is here to share how technology is a walk in the park. Please welcome Euwart Anderson.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. The big name breaking onto the scene in fixed operations for retail dealerships is Velo, okay? And the automotive brands that they serve. Many of us will be familiar with Rapid Recon, has been a big part here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable for a long time. There are a number of other brands, and to introduce them today, we have Euwart Anderson, who's the Executive Vice President at Velo. Euwart, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Excellent. Thanks, Ted. Glad to be here.
Great to have you, my friend. And exciting times we're in for fixed operations. Probably the most exciting I can ever remember. And you're on the forefront with some great technology.
Absolutely. We're stoked to have the position that we have in the marketplace today, and to have, best in class brands, on our team and in our portfolio, and to most importantly be able to offer our dealers the opportunity to create trust and transparency with their customers.
Yeah, those are great themes and great topics. I know today we're going to talk a little bit about DealerLogix and Text2Drive, two of your brands. But first, Euwart, if you could bring us back a little bit. First, tell us, what is Velo? What is the Velo platform? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'll jump into what is Velo first, and I'll get to me last. Seems like the right order of importance for sure. So on the Velo front, Velo is a portfolio that's PE backed, and that portfolio is focused primarily on the service industry in automotive. And what I mean by that is we've brought together some of the best in class brands in the market that serve franchise dealerships, and also some independents, and then also shops as well, separately. So our largest division across our business is our dealership division, and serving primarily franchise dealers. And within that space, we mostly focus on improving and enhancing the service experience within our fixed ops, side of our customer base. So that can stream and touch anywhere in the process, from setting up appointments to have a vehicle service, all the way through managing the entire workflow, and the experience on site and payment. And then after that, keeping that customer coming back with great engagement. So our products touch each part of that process and help to ensure that customer satisfaction and retention is paramount for our dealers.
You're running a big enterprise, and you're touching a lot of aspects of automotive, particularly retail automotive, the dealers, and ultimately the customers as well.
Absolutely. So just to quantify the touch base or kind of the footprint, to your point, at Velo, we've got roughly 30,000 rooftops and just over about 45% penetration of the franchise space. So a very sizable footprint. We process roughly 52 million repair orders annually. So we've got a lot of data, a lot of understanding of what consumers are experiencing and dealers are experiencing, all cut by geographic, demographic, OEM and manufacturer, data points, et cetera. So we've got a really good understanding and a kind of a pulse check on the industry and what the industry needs. And we use that information along with customer feedback to enhance and innovate our products and maybe just as equally provide the right level of service to our customers day to day through support, customer success, engagement, et cetera.
So I imagine our audience is going to hear a lot more about your name in the future. Who is Euwart Anderson? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, glad to. So I'd say from a career perspective, I've been with Velo just roughly 4 years, and it's been an exciting ride for sure. We've done a lot of M&A over that time frame, all of which is has been public and market facing, and before that. Before joining Velo and spending the last 4 years or so in dealership software space, I spent about 8 to 9 years in other SaaS or software as a service products outside of automotive. So a myriad of industries, including hospitality, retail, et cetera. And then prior to that, my career had two cuts, frankly, which was talent management, and that was on the global scale, running a culmination of HR, legal, recruiting, all types of talent focused functional areas. And then I'm a recovering accountant. So I started my career in finance, and I'll probably never fully recover. So spreadsheets are definitely one of my closest friends, Ted.
I'm finding a lot of CEOs are accountants, okay, and have come up through that part of the business as well. You've got some great brands. Our audience will be very familiar with Rapid Recon. I learned that Rapid was part of the Velo family as part of your suite of automotive products. How did you come about picking that one? Because you picked a really great one with that.
Sure. Great question. So prior to acquiring Rapid Recon, we actually already had in our portfolio, specific to dealerships at least, we had in our portfolio DealerLogix, Text2Drive, and one additional brand, Service Lane e-Advisor, all three of which primarily service the customer pay side of the fixed ops industry. We then also saw that there was a market need out there. Dealerships were really struggling to gain visibility and to, through visibility, wrap their arms around their risk and exposure when appraising vehicles and reconditioning vehicles and running that entire process. That's a meaty process on its own. And Rapid Recon is I'd call Dennis McGinn, the founder of that business and the brand itself, the godfather of recon. So we've actually, through a lot of diligence, we saw that Rapid had that market and kind of created that market to some degree and was really, on the forefront of innovation as it related to reconditioning management. So after, meeting with Dennis, meeting with that team, we elected to, add them to the portfolio. They elected to allow us to do that and to join the team. And we've been a family ever since.
You've got the best with Rapid because there's been a lot of companies that have come along in recent years. Some have fallen by the wayside and nobody can keep up with the innovation that Rapid's got going. So congratulations to you. You were at Velo for adding them. I want to ask you today a little bit about two of the other brands. Text2Drive, and DealerLogix in no particular order. But I want to introduce our audience to them and what they do and how they serve the community. I've seen some of these in dealerships as I go in and training. And tell us about them a little bit more and how they work.
Sure. So I'll start with Text2Drive. And then I'll bring it full circle rather with DealerLogix. So Text2Drive is a platform primarily focused on creating customer experience enhancements within the dealership service experience through automation, through very frequent intentional touch points that help to eliminate the heavy lift that a service advisor or a BDC team within the dealership, has to take on. It automates most of that process. And as a platform, Text2Drive also adds an element of security and trust to the conversation in two ways. The trust is built with Text2Drive through transparency. Text2Drive's automation allows for full transparency to a customer of every step in the repair order process. So that they're getting the immediate updates as they happen based on a dealer's configuration throughout that repair order cycle. Also, the security piece comes at the end of the process. So Text2Drive actually has a market leading payments option that is typically integrated with most service lane technologies, including DealerLogix, to create a fraud kind of reluctant or adherent platform so that customers can process their online payments and not necessarily be at the dealership and provide payments in any manner they see fit. And I think that that offering from Text2Drive really actually sets them apart. They also offer surcharging options and other payments elements. So Text2Drive kind of bookends, if you will, the repair order experience. It's the communication element and the retention that keeps the customer coming back. And it also adds this payments piece that really is powerful in the market to keep customers feeling secure with their information as they continue to try to build trust with their dealer of choice. DealerLogix, sure.
I want to, before we go any further, can I come back to the payments piece? Because that is a huge differentiator, okay, that I see, because I would imagine that most service bills are paid for either by a credit or a debit card. Not all, but many of them are. And in the old days, okay, going back to when I started off in the business and not too long ago, people would have to go to the cashier window and line up and pay with, pay the cashier and stand behind other customers. Not the most comfortable thing in the world. But now that you're giving them the flexibility of doing that, I would imagine from their device remotely, being able to do that. And I would imagine that would also be the one thing that customer remembers last about the service piece in terms of customer satisfaction, that they paid the bill, paying the bill and doing that and making it convenient and taking the friction out of that. Euwart, I think that's a huge piece in what you do.
100% agree, Ted. And I would say, there's an old saying, and I'm not going to attempt to quote who said it, but the sentiment is, people won't remember much about what you say or what you do. They will remember how you made them feel. And Text2Drive is an absolute personification of that. From the beginning of the cycle management that Text2Drive owns, all the way to that payments piece, and that payments piece is a punchline in that experience. And when you make people feel with the market dynamics the way they are in automotive and outside of automotive, from a fraud and compliance perspective, when you can make someone feel that their information is secure, that their process is thoughtful and intentional, then the dealership gets credit for that. Text2Drive doesn't want credit for that. We want to give the dealer credit for that with the customer. And today, all of the Text2Drive customers that are signed up for payments, which is the vast majority, those customers, those dealers rather, as our customer, are able to offer their consumer customers that experience daily. Those payments are taken through a myriad of devices, including cell phones, iPads, any type of mobile device. But also, we do offer card present options as well with the same type of security protocols in place. So, so some people do feel more comfortable, with that scenario, and that's okay as well. So we want to make sure that dealers have every option available to create trust and make sure that punchline is positive.
Congratulations to you. I apologize for interrupting you. I just wanted to make sure that we knew that what that was. So the product is called Text2Drive, and our audience will find it that way.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about DealerLogix.
So DealerLogix is actually what I would consider a full repair order workflow management system that is enhanced with Text2Drive. So, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So DealerLogix standalone is actually a full repair order, workflow management platform that allows for the customer to set an appointment online. So that appointment itself is actually set and managed through the DealerLogix system. And that appointment ties into the customer's accounts all the way through the repair order cycle, including recommended maintenance, elected maintenance, what work is actually performed versus declined and delayed potentially based on customer preferences. And the payment is actually now triggered through Text2Drive, and Text2Drive handles that piece. So kind of DealerLogix creates this, what I would call, core fundamental layer of functionality, streamlining the entire service process, enhancing additional service recommendations, typically by over 35 to 40%. Driving RO revenue itself, typically closer, up by roughly 50 to 60% when MPIs are included or multi-point inspections are included. So video and media is an element of DealerLogix. So then you bookend that or you enhance that with the Text2Drive wrap, and now you have a suite that offers a customer something that they can't typically experience with any other provider. And these two offerings, by the way, are fully integrated. So it is a seamless single user experience for the service lane advisor, for the service manager, for the technician. It's one experience.
And you really are a fixed ops suite, okay, for the dealer, okay, focused on that. You mentioned also because video has become a big part of the business as well. So using the DealerLogix platform, that's available to dealers as well.
Exactly. And you hit on the video component. One stat that we found very interesting is we've actually, with interactive MPI, we've seen boost of approved customer pay up to roughly 86% or so. So like you're talking some substantial experience impacting elements within the product. And that kind of showcases two really important points to walk away with. One of them is, the product itself is very simple for the users. So our dealership customers and partners, which really I've used that word intentionally, we want them to be partners, not just customers. They experience something that's simple. We take what's potentially very complex and sophisticated, and we bring it down to a very easy to use platform. It is visually very simple, and that's intentional. Right? Because what's the number one problem dealers are battling today? It's talent. Being able to bring technicians in, service advisors in, service managers in, or to promote those folks into the next role in their career is practically impossible if it takes a year to pick up a platform, or if it takes 6 months to pick up a platform. Well, we're getting dealers rather to adopt our platform in a matter of weeks, sometimes even days. So that the ability for the user to keep it simple benefits the consumer because it's going to be consistent, right? It's going to be consistent. The second element is from a media perspective, the media and the MPI reference and boosting that customer pay percentage so much, it's actually building trust, and it ties back to the overall theme that we really hold true and believe at Velo and at Text2Drive and DealerLogix by extension. And that's that visibility and trust leads to retention. It'll ultimately lead to retention, and the consumer and the dealer will benefit from both. So we're committed and frankly obligated to deliver that.
You're going to do great. You're in a great space with the right technology, and it sounds like Text2Drive, DealerLogix, these are all wrapped together and they go together extremely well, and then combine that with some of the other resources that you've got on the platform, Euwart. Fixed Op Suite for dealers. Congratulations to you. By the way, everybody, Velo is also a certified partner to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Congratulations on that. And Euwart, great news for the retail community. And I'd like to have you come back and we'll talk to you some more about this in the near future at a upcoming roundtable.
I would love to, Ted. Thanks for having us. And we're excited to serve the market. We're excited to serve our dealers, and we're continuing to add new rooftops every day. And we are committed to their experience being stellar.
Everybody down below in the ticker, we're putting some calls to action. If you want to reach out and get more information on both Text2Drive and DealerLogix and the Velo platform. Okay. Euwart Anderson is with us, Executive Vice President at Velo. And last question, if I may, okay, we're coming into the fourth quarter. Any advice for the folks watching today, dealers, anything you'd recommend they keep their eye on over the next couple months until we see you back at the next roundtable?
Sure. So the one piece of advice I'd likely impart, which won't be news to our dealers, the market's full of really smart people. So and our dealers are no exception. So the one thing I'd put out there to consider is challenge your partners to be partners. So if you have, whether it's us or if it's our competitors in the market, whoever it is, you deserve really good partnership. The consumers are going to demand it of you, and you should demand it of your partners as well. And if they're vendors and not partners, challenge them to be better. And that goes for us too. And we'll take that feedback. And at the end of the day, you're going to win. We're going to win by being better. So, iron sharpens iron. And we would just encourage you to do that so that you can fight the battle in front of you. And that's the talent battle and the profit battle. And we're here to help you with both.
Great advice, everybody. Velo quickly becoming the big player in automotive retail fixed operations. Euwart Anderson, Executive Vice President. On behalf of the Roundtable, thank you so much for your time with us here today.
Same here, Ted. Thank you so much.
Euwart Anderson, everybody, from Velo, Text2Drive, DealerLogix, and Rapid Recon, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
DealerLogix makes it easy for customers to schedule service appointments from anywhere. The customer experience is easy and straightforward and embedded in your dealership website. As a customer, I'll click on Schedule Service, provide a few pieces of preferred contact information, and I'm presented with dealer-specific menu options. Based on my selection, I'm presented with a list of dates and times along with an option to choose my advisor and transportation preferences. When I arrive to the dealership, the staff is ready for me, and I'm presented with OEM and dealer-recommended maintenance options, including good, better, best choices where I decide. During the repair process, I can review estimates from anywhere, and the evidence of my vehicle's condition is provided through images and video.
To start off, rear differential looks good.
I can easily approve or decline any maintenance or repair recommendations and track the status of my service right from my phone or computer. I'm notified when my vehicle is ready, and I can easily review my invoice and pay my bill directly from my device. My multi-point inspection report can be found in my customer portal, and I received a copy via text message or email from my records. DealerLogix allows me to manage service on my vehicle easily from my mobile device. No surprises, no frustration. A simple, transparent way of managing my service needs with my dealer. DealerLogix provides dealers the platform necessary to keep internal and customer communication in front of the car, answering questions before they're asked, real-time transparency, and a blanket of accountability. By providing a communication platform that encompasses customer, advisor, counterperson, and tech, the key people have the information they need to execute with efficiency. Communication is stored and creates a storybook timeline to easily identify success or areas of opportunity. DMS integration ensures a seamless mobile check-in with instant access to opcodes, pricing, and RO generation. Through an alignment software integration, DealerLogix provides evidence-driven alignment specs, so your estimates are verifiable. A customizable MPVI allows for dealer-specific options, and the ability to add photos and video to your customer presentation. Service Line Workflow Manager ensures that the right work is getting in when it should, and dispatching becomes a strategic priority. And we didn't forget reporting. DealerLogix's robust reporting portfolio provides the information dealers need to identify performance opportunities in advisors, technicians, and parts, ensuring you're maintaining efficiency and maximizing your hours per RO potential.
Extra, read all about it. Get the latest on EV sales trends and profitability with our next segment.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Dennis Gingrich is with us from our great friends at the Nilo Company in Sacramento, also AutoFiPro. And Dennis is introducing somebody brand new to the Roundtable, but not brand new to our industry, Peter Barba with a company called Lectrium. Welcome to the Roundtable, Peter, and welcome back, Dennis.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ted, for having us. Really appreciate what you do for the industry, talking about all things fixed and a little variable here and there, which is exciting. But definitely excited to have Peter, CEO of Lectrium. Obviously, EV is something that's been a focus of our industry. And so it's going to be great to have him here today to share a little bit about EVs so we can all tune in our business to do a little bit better in that all-important facet of our business. Peter, tell us about yourself, brother.
Dennis, thank you. And Ted, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, at Lectrium, we've been in the EV space for 3 years, and we're working with a few hundred franchise dealers to sell more EVs faster with higher gross. And I think we're going to start here today just talking about selling EVs before we get into profitability and the fixed op side of things, because you have to sell them before you can service them and make profit off of them. And it's been a wild ride so far in 2024. People say in the EV space that 1 year feels like 7 years. And I can say that 2024 has aged me a little bit, no doubt about it. And it's a crazy landscape. You know, we just saw 9% of sales being electric in a month or two ago. And it's really varying depending on the brand. So brands like BMW, Kia, Hyundai, Cadillac, they're really leaning into EVs, whereas some others are, you know, taking a step back, like Ford. So it's an interesting time for sure. And I'm excited to hit on some stats, some ideas, talk to Dennis about some numbers and data that we've looked up together, and really just help dealers build that muscle of selling the electric car so that they can eventually, have that customer for a longer time.
And Peter, I see that you do work with a lot of dealers, a lot of companies, a who's who list. Congratulations to you on your company's success. Success is never a straight line, okay? We've learned that over time in the automotive business. Dennis, you're in Northern California. What are you seeing in terms of EVs there?
You know, as Peter just said, you know, the industry's, 9% of sales were EVs, I think you mentioned last month. And we continue to see that here in Northern California across our brands. Matter of fact, we just had a call this morning recapping our sales efforts over the last, just the weekend, and 25% of our new car sales were in fact EVs. While I would say it's not growing as up and to the right as it was in the early days, it continues to be steady growth. We get more and more adoption, not only on the new front, but we're also seeing, from a pre-owned perspective, there's a lot of demand for pre-owned EVs, as it does, provide an affordable means of transportation for consumers. So a lot of good stuff going on in the EV market out here in California, and happy to talk about it more with, Peter and you, Ted, of course, and hopefully our audience can grab something from it.
Hey, quickly on affordability. Sorry, Ted. On affordability, it's such an important point, Dennis, that you bring up, because 2 or 3 years ago, EVs were for the wealthy and for the people who cared about this new technology. But now they're becoming, the everyday vehicle, and sometimes the most affordable vehicle to lease or to buy used. And these governmental and state policies are helping a ton. The federal clean vehicle tax credits have been helping move new cars and used cars under $25,000. And then there are state-by-state programs as well. There are the zero emission vehicle states who have committed to more stringent guidelines than even the federal government. And then we also see certain state governments adding their own policies and rebates and credits. And, the affordability side is probably what excites me most, not to skip ahead. But it's just so much fun seeing more and more people being able to afford this new technology.
Peter, a dealer was on the roundtable recently. Her name is Liza Borges. She has a company called Carter Myers Automotive, CMA. They're based out of Virginia, but they're in several states now. I think she has over 20 rooftops. And she was on recently telling us about the affordability, especially on the pre-owned EVs right now. There are some amazing deals out there. She was letting us know. And the reason she was on was talking about education not only for her entire staff at the dealership in sales and in fixed, but also for the customer and getting customers behind the wheel of an EV for the first time to see what that's like. I don't know if I'd like to speak to any of that.
Definitely. I think Dennis and I were talking about education as well, and just how important it is, first of all, to educate the consumer and address common objections such as affordability, range anxiety, charging anxiety, but also to educate our staff, and especially our sales staff who are in charge of, answering these questions about this new technology. Education is so important, and I know Dennis and his team have been, investing and doing some great work there. So maybe Dennis could hit on that.
Well, at the end of the day, right, as Peter said, our salespeople, they are the ones that are answering these questions. They are addressing these concerns. And anything we can do to make it easy for our sales team to digest that information so they can in turn transmit that over to the customers, I think it makes it a lot easier, right? Because there is this kind of anxiety, I think, and EVs, as we've talked about, can be a little bit of a polarizing topic for whatever reason. But, if I had to put my finger on it, I think last year there was a pretty significant dip in the value of a lot of pre-owned EVs that I think have a lot of dealerships, maybe some scars from that moment in time. But, it seems like things have relatively stabilized, and making sure everybody's educated so they can talk about these at a high level and help drive sales in this important facet of our business is important, but got to make it easy.
Yeah, we've had a number of discussions about the EV, about resale values and how they were affected going back a little ways. Peter, what are you seeing in terms of EV profitability? What are you seeing out there?
So first and foremost, dealers who are building the muscle of selling the cars have an advantage when it comes to profitability. And Dennis and I were chatting about this, but EV profitability has been a bit of an issue at the OEM level and at the dealership level. And that's because OEMs are scaling up their supply chains to build these vehicles at scale and at more competitive prices. But from the dealership level, profitability has been definitely a bit lower than dealers are used to with ICE vehicles, but it's stabilizing. And I think Dennis will hit on this here, but we believe that most of the profitability in EVs right now is coming from the back end. Front end sticker prices have, there's been a price war going on with a variety of brands, and EV profitability it's a bit lower than we're seeing in ICE, but it's trending in the right direction and beginning to normalize. And I think Dennis has some interesting data points there that we were looking at last week.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely like what Peter talked about, we're at least experiencing a little bit more profitability in terms of a percentage on the back end, which I think is actually really great for the industry, specifically the retail automotive dealership, because the sale of those F&I products, not to quote our good friend Tully Williams, but it really does drive repeat and referral business and brings them back into the shop. And I think that's just a byproduct of, there is a little bit of maybe uncertainty, and people aren't familiar with EVs. So that extra layer of protection, offering them a service contract that will cover the battery and, some of the EV specific technology is something we've seen here at the Nilo company. It's something I've seen with our dealer partners through AutoFiPro, that it continues to be a good F&I profit center, which is obviously, like I already said, good for fixed, but it's also good for dealers and their reinsurance, for those that are set up to handle that kind of business. So there's a couple important profit centers that can be maximized with a little extra focus and education, like we talked a little bit about already.
And building value in these cars is so important. So, educating consumers that this car is perfect for your daily drive. You don't need to have range anxiety. Or educating consumers that, hey, over the course of 5 years of ownership of this vehicle, you're actually going to save X amount of money by charging at home with electricity versus filling up your tank with gas. So there's some hidden benefits here in the EVs that need to be uncovered and unlocked. And I really believe it falls on the auto groups, the dealerships, and the people speaking with the customers to make sure that they're educated and that we're building value in these vehicles, which will definitely help profitability. Earlier in 2024, I think there was an oversupply of EVs, which led us to seeing really high days inventory. And I think that was somewhat intentional by OEMs because they didn't want to lose people transitioning from gas cars to electric cars. We've seen brand loyalties a little bit lower with EVs, especially when they're making the switch for the first time. But really, if dealers are able to build value and explain range, explain how to charge at home with a level 2 charger, explain total cost of ownership with electricity price per kilowatt hour versus gas prices in their exact area, consumers will trust them and they'll understand just that this vehicle, in some cases, obviously not in all cases, but in some cases, second vehicle, only driving it to work or to school and back, it's a more affordable option for their lifestyle.
And Peter, there are some things you do at Lectrium that help the industry in terms of this discussion on profitability. I heard there's a tool or tools you have at Lectrium. I don't know if you'd like to talk about that a little bit today.
I would love to, Ted. Thank you. I'll try to keep it brief, but effectively, we believe that marketing and selling an electric car is different than a gas car, and consumers need different information. So we all know about the VDP, vehicle detail page. At Lectrium, we believe there should be an EVDP, or an electric vehicle detail page, which shows better information and more detailed information that's only specific to electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids. So we have two little badges. It's nothing crazy. One is an EV savings badge, which highlights federal and state tax incentives and fuel savings. And the second is an electric vehicle range map, which just shows exactly how far on a spider map the EV or plug-in hybrid can drive. And we're adding more, but that's our thesis, is to efficiently market and sell electric cars. Consumers need better and more data, and it just takes slightly longer for them to decide, given this huge technology shift.
And Dennis Tully has to be happy because I don't see the EV customer going to the mass marketers or the Jiffy Lubes. They're coming back to the dealership.
No, that's an excellent point. There is no Jiffy Lube of EVs out there, at least to my knowledge, but we do see them coming back into the dealership. And, obviously there's some maintenance items. Maybe it's not as big ticket or whatever, but they are coming back into the dealership. And I think the other thing that, might not be a great statistic, maybe would go more in the anti-EV society. I know there's one out there, but, that stat that 46% of EV owners might go back to an ICE. But I think that's, that's good news, right? That's a blessing in disguise for dealers. So if dealers know that half of these customers might consider going back to an ICE car, do they have their service drive situated in such a way where somebody's actively trying to acquire these vehicles? Because these vehicles, like we talked about at the top of this session today, they make very affordable used cars. There's a demand for them. I know we can't get our hands on enough pre-owned Teslas. The minute we get one, they're out of here. They're affordable. And so there's definitely maybe, people are going back, but it's also a good used car opportunity, which turns into additional reconditioning opportunity and obviously sales opportunity. So that's, it's a good news there.
And I'll chime in there real quick. I agree, Dennis. The LTV of an EV buyer isn't going to be realized just the day they buy the car. And the fact that batteries are so complicated and so big and, can be difficult to repair is, I think, definitely a positive for auto groups and dealerships. If you're solving all these questions for a consumer in their purchasing process around range, around charging, maybe you even help them install a charger at home, help them file the point of sale federal tax credit, and then suddenly their service is due. They're much more likely to do business with that dealership or auto group in the future, whether that's trading in the EV for a gas car if it's not right for them, or whether it's turning their second car into an electric vehicle as well. It's going to go both ways, and really, just in EVs right now, the automotive industry, I've learned, is so competitive. I played basketball growing up at the Division I level, and automotive is more competitive than playing basketball. It's crazy. And we see the growing percentage of EV sales, and dealers who want to capitalize on that growing share of the market, they need to zig when their competitors zag. And right now, there's dealers who are shying away a bit or just keeping their hands clean from EVs. Then I see the other end of dealers and other groups who are fully diving in, and they're making investments, training, they're shifting their mindset within the organization, and they're really going to have a big advantage. Maybe not this month, maybe not next month, but next quarter and next year and this and next decade.
And Dennis, your group there, the Nilo company, certainly does its fair share of EV sales. We've been talking about the numbers over the past few months and years. What about things like working the service drive, the way that would happen for ICE vehicles in order to, acquire some of these vehicles from customers? Is that something, Peter, that dealers are doing now? Again, I don't know, so I'm coming to you, gentlemen.
Yeah, speaking at for the Nilo company, I know all of our stores. We've got 10 rooftops. We have individuals that are canvassing our service drives, in an attempt to acquire pre-owned inventory. Just because we need pre-owned inventory. People are looking for affordable transportation, and much of society cannot afford a new car. New cars are expensive. They're more expensive than they've ever been, between increased prices and rates and all the things that we deal with on a daily basis. So for the Nilo company, it's incredibly important to be able to provide affordable transportation so we can serve a larger percentage of the population here in Sacramento, because we really believe if we got a great affordable car, whether it be EV or ICE, we know we're going to put a quality vehicle out on the road that's been reconditioned by our technicians, so they feel good when they leave our lot. And then when they're ready to, and they're evolving their career and their earning potentials allow them to buy, their new Porsche or whatever it is they aspire to, if we give them a great experience, we know we're going to earn their business time and time again, both in sales and service.
I totally agree. There are certain initiatives I think dealers can take, and I think some really talented marketers will take advantage of this. I don't know if that's me and my company, but I think there's opportunity for vehicle exchange programs, whether it's EV to ICE or ICE to EV. Could probably go both ways. And then secondly, I've actually attended quite a few of these Drive Electric events that dealerships host.
Yes.
And it's about building awareness in the community and letting people actually sit in these vehicles and experience the torque, experience how easy it is to charge, whether it's a level 3 DC fast charger and the NACS adapters, or whether the vehicle is actually built with NACS charging ports, or whether it's installing a level 2 charger at home and getting those 9 or 10 kilowatts every hour to the battery. Allowing consumers to test drive these cars and doing vehicle exchange programs or just in-person marketing events. I've seen success there, and it's good for both the salespeople and the customers, because everyone's asking the same questions on the same day, so everyone's super locked in.
Well, there. So, Peter, for our audience that's watching today, I know Dennis is out in California, but you're here with me. You're in the New York area, okay? And for our dealer audience, folks who are watching, who would be interested in what you do there at your company, how do you help dealers, and what kind of things can they reach out to Peter Barba for?
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Ted. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York. You're right, in Brooklyn Navy Yard, where the USS Missouri was built. And at Lectrium, we help dealers turn electric units faster while maintaining gross. So effectively, whether you have a dealer on dealer.com, Dealer Inspire, Dealer eProcess website, we have simple plugins to add to your VDPs, which highlight EV-specific and PHEV-specific information, which lead to more educated customers. It leads to more leads in your CRM. It leads to more gross profit retention from your F&I team. And at the end of the day, we want to first get you moving more electric cars and more units per month, and then moving them more profitably. So I would love to chat with anyone. Check me out on LinkedIn, or look us up at Lectrium.com. And our mission is to help dealers compete and beat the D2C EV players. And I think we're having a little bit of success doing that so far.
So, Dennis, this is a part of our industry that is evolving rapidly and changing quickly. And what's true today, may change in 3 months or in 6 months, and it's different than it was 6 months ago, Dennis. So it's evolving quickly. So what a great resource Peter is. And Dennis, I'm glad that AutoFiPro, that you're aware and on top of all these things happening.
Well, I appreciate that, Ted. And he brings up a good point. He mentioned the sales person, and obviously Lectrium and Peter, they got a great tool. But any tool that we as retail automotive leaders can provide to our sales staff that takes something that's relatively complex and make it simple and visual so people can digest, it just makes us more effective. I think our customers see us as more transparent, which is something the industry is definitely working diligently to change that appearance. And I think we're making some success. And I think the other part is to those dealers, there is a tremendous amount of opportunity, not only in the sales of the EVs, but, also in your F&I department. And that's just a byproduct of being equipped with the right F&I widget to provide coverage to the buyers of these EVs. And, having both ends of the spectrum covered so they come back into your fixed operations department is key. It's not insurmountable. It's not even that hard. You just need the right resources and things work out.
So the gentlemen on the screen, everybody, are two of the best resources in our industry. Dennis Gingrich, COO of AutoFiPro. You'll know him from the Nilo company, 10 European luxury dealerships in Northern California. Among the best dealership groups in the country, over 100 years in business, amazing values and culture of that dealership. Everybody, if you're looking for an F&I resource, a company to help you at your dealership, who believes in some of the same things that you do, reach out to Dennis Gingrich. You'll see his email down below at AutoFiPro. And of course, that carries the Nilo company seal of approval. Peter Barba, CEO of Lectrium. On the EV side, it's all a matter of education for both your employees at the dealership throughout and your consumer as well. Peter has some great tools that are cutting edge for the industry. You can reach Peter either on social media or at lectrium.com, and a great resource for the industry. So Peter and Dennis, thank you so much for your time today and for helping advance the cause here for retail automotive.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ted.
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate it.
Everybody, Dennis Gingrich and Peter Barba here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
At AutoFiPro, we understand the bigger picture. Your F&I department is the heartbeat of your dealership. Your service department, it's the gut health, but that's another story. If your F&I department is underperforming, it can send shockwaves throughout your entire business. Like the smell of fish when Daryl uses the microwave. That's why we take a holistic approach. Starting with the training and development of your people, backed by proven sales processes, we keep your entire dealership in focus. See what we did there? So what is it that sets us apart? It's not our donut delivery service, though that does help. It's our people. We're not your average F&I provider. We're right there in the trenches every day, just like you. We've walked the showroom floor. We've closed the deals in today's automotive landscape, all while driving a culture of compliance. Our team is rooted in today's automotive reality. We haven't just read about the changes, we're living them. And we know that yesterday's experience won't shape tomorrow's success. On average, AutoFiPro business partners see a 64% lift in their PVR. Do you know what your current fee structure looks like? We do, and those waters couldn't be muddier. That's why we keep it simple with just one single fee. Yeah, that's right, one fee. Go see how many fees you're paying right now. We'll wait. Is your current F&I provider delivering the results your dealership deserves? Learn how AutoFiPro can revolutionize your F&I department. Visit us at AutoFiPro.com.
Ride your bike over to our next panel on cycle time management and fixed operations.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Time location has proven to be a very important and cost-effective topic for dealers today, all throughout the nation. We are very grateful to have an expert in the field with us here on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Colin from Mobile Dealer Data is with us to take us through some of the intricacies. First time on the roundtable. Colin, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you very much, Ted. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
I've heard a lot of great things about the work that you're doing. I know you didn't just start this recently. You've been at this for a while, and your product and service is actually in some of the largest dealers in the United States. Take us through it, if you would. Give us some of the color behind the scenes.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having us again, Ted. And we have been very lucky to have some great dealer partners, and it is designed for retail automotive. So you're absolutely right. And it started out with just, where's the car, where's the key? And we're really trying to focus on bringing the concept of cycle time management to our dealerships. And it's not a new concept. It's just maybe new to automotive, retail automotive in the service center, but it really comes from manufacturing in body shops, even McDonald's tracks. How long does it take for you to get to the order? How long does it take to get to the pay? And how long does it take for you to get your meal? And we're just applying that to your service process, the key to key time, when you get the keys from the customer to when you give the keys back to the customer, and then everything in between. So it's not a new concept, but cycle time management is what we're focused on. And it just involves monitoring and analyzing your process data and time it takes to complete each step in your process.
And Colin, you're not only just in dealerships, but you're really into the fixed operation space, and you understand that space. Take us through that, how that applies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it started with dealerships wanting to know where the vehicle and keys were for the technicians, right? If they lose 5-10 minutes looking for a vehicle, that's not billable hours. That's not wrench time. So it started just very basically with where's the car, so my tech can go get it, so my valet can go get it to deliver back to the customer. And where it's evolved is monitoring it. Okay, it's in staging, waiting for the technician. Now it's in bay. Okay, now it's ready for the car wash. Now it's in the car wash, et cetera, et cetera. And not only measuring the time for that, but firing off alarms that say, hey, Ted, this car is ready for the next step in your process, or this car has a delay, so that we can go do something about it. And it's all around, maximizing the efficiency of the shop. And then also it's tied into, with a lot of our Toyota partners, the promise time. Everyone says, hey, I want to get you in and out within an hour, and no one wants to wait 2 hours for an oil change, but are you delivering on that? And we allow you not only to know if you're delivering on that, but to help you deliver on that.
I mentioned to you in the green room before we got started that I picked up my car from service last Friday.
Yeah.
And when I went in to pick it up early in the morning, they couldn't find the keys. And they went to the key machine, the grand key machine.
Yep.
Those have been now in dealerships for 30, 35 years, but that's not enough because it wasn't in there. And
if it's in there, you don't have a problem. It's when it gets passed around to everyone, and it's a chronic problem. That's the thing. So we do offer key tracking as well, Ted. We could have solved that for you.
All right. So talk to us about that, because from what I understand, Colin, you'll be able to locate the vehicle inside the dealership, where it's not just outdoors, it's in and where in the dealership.
That's really the difference between our technology and some of the others. There's GPS, there's locators, but our system tracks indoors and outdoors, and very accurately. And that's exactly right. It's designed to tell you, hey, is it in staging or is it in bay? Is it in this bay or is it in my detail bay? Very specific. And GPS is not great for indoor tracking. We've come up with a Bluetooth indoor tracking system that allows you to know exactly where things are at.
Okay, that is different. So what I can imagine is that we hear that time is the most important commodity in service. It's perishable. Technicians constantly tell us biggest part of their job, most difficult part, should be the easiest. That's finding the car, getting the car, locating it, and bringing it into my bay. It could take a long time. And I imagine, Colin, this could apply to things like reconditioning as well.
Yes, any process that you do that has a start and an end and steps in between is what our bread and butter is. And not only is that frustrating for the technician, But the operators that we talk to say it can change someone's attitude. The first car they get in the morning, they can't find it. Now they're just heads out of the game. So simple things like that just help to the efficiency, but it also brings visibility. A lot of people want to talk about their reconditioning times or their service cycle times. And it comes under the do you know or do you think you know? And this system allows you to truly know where you're at from an automated standpoint. We've all seen the systems that, we log, check it in, check it out, takes human input. The difference here is we don't need that human input. We build a digital twin of your process in our software.
Really?
And we automate it so that you can go back and not only do post what has happened analysis, but also forward predicting analytics that says, hey, we're starting to get past 3 hours on our quick lane. Let's not take any more appointments today, or we don't have enough to finish our time today. Let's get on the horn and offer a discount or something like that. So it really brings visibility to where you're at.
I know manufacturers are very concerned about efficiencies, time it takes to open a repair order to close a repair order. I hear a lot of things happening on that. I also know that you're in one of the, if not the largest, Toyota dealer, in the country as well. What kind of efficiencies have the dealers using mobile dealer data found as a result?
Yeah, great question. It comes to finding, first visibility, like we talked about, but some low-hanging fruit are service delivery. You've got a vehicle ready to get back to the customer. Where is it? So valet can go find it. We're saving upwards of 15 minutes just in the vehicle delivery process. We also find that some of the top performing dealerships crank these cars out. Like they're on it. They get them through detail, or they get them through oil change. They get them through the car wash and they're done. But then they're waiting for 40 minutes sometimes on average before they hand them back to the customer. And it's usually a communication issue that we can help resolve with that. So the service, parking, waiting for delivery is a low-hanging fruit that almost every dealer that we launch, we save, sometimes upward of 30 minutes just in that one step. And it's just the customer's still waiting in your lounge, car's done, just nobody knew about it.
That's super common. That happens and I hear that all the time when we do focus groups and here on the roundtable as well. That's very important. I remember a while back when I used to go to 20 groups regularly, a dealer 20 groups. We used to look at the financial statement and look at things. I remember unapplied time was on that statement. I don't know if it still is in every case, but unapplied time is something that dealers have historically tracked. I don't know if we got away from that, but this would seem to apply to that.
100%. Unapplied time is a kiss of death a little bit. I mean, we only can, have so many hours that we're open. So, how do we get back that unapplied time and bill more hours, service more cars? And that's what our DNA is in this product. So 100% unapplied time, if they're not measuring it, they should. We help, bring visibility to that, measure it, and then reclaim it. That's a big piece of our program.
All right. So walk us through the process. Tell us how the technology is used. There are a lot of time wasters in the dealership. I would imagine if it's a trade coming in, whether it's that scenario or whether it's a customer coming in tomorrow morning for service on my service drive. Tell us how the technology is used and deployed.
Well, we need to make it easy and not complicated, because first of all, nobody wants a new process that's going to bog down, and get in the way of efficiency. So dealers hang tags. So we do the same process, except this time now you have a high accuracy tracking tag on every hang tag. And we can give you different colors based on different processes. So maybe red is a waiter, maybe blue is my main shop, maybe green is my recon, whatever. And we build the process for that tag in the software so that, we are measuring each process differently. Maybe there's certain allowable times that are different by process, but you hang our hang tag and the software off it goes, tracking this as it goes down the journey. Not only giving you that visibility, but also firing off any alarms if there's issues. So the process is putting a hang tag on your vehicles and getting your employees an app that if they can run Google Maps, they can run our map, and off you go. So it's very straightforward. And, I can elaborate on that, but that's the gist of it, Ted.
I can use it in my body shop too, I would imagine.
Absolutely. We have body shops that absolutely use it. And, again, cycle time is something that body shops are a little bit more familiar with than retail automotive, because they have a fixed payment from the insurance company. So, if they can get it through faster, that really has a direct impact on their profitability. And, there's all sorts of little things from body shop. Customer's car gets towed in, it has their kid's soccer bag, customer shows up and you don't even know where their car is. There's just little stupid things like that we can help clean up and make it seem like you know what you're doing. And so yeah, body shops are definitely a current, even boat dealers use this, Ted, for, where's the boat in my shop? So it can really be applied anywhere.
I imagine also employee satisfaction, because the employees are aware more than anybody of all these little things, all these hangups, the techs. If you want to find out what's going on in a dealership, go to the shop and ask the techs. They'll tell you. This is going to make techs more efficient, happier, be able to do more work quicker, get the vehicle in and out of the shop. Colin, this not just potentially saves the dealership so much and time is money. It
is, Ted. And not only just time is money, but just brain damage. I mean, I have a top dealership, BMW dealership that, top in any status that you want to talk about. And they use it as a recruitment tool, Ted, because salespeople want to sell cars. They want to help customers. They don't want to look for vehicles. And if you think about it, as we start out our sales journey, we're either building credibility or losing it. And you don't go to Apple and say, I want your new iPhone. And they say, great, I just don't know where it is. So let's eliminate the low-hanging fruit and, give tools that do drive impact for not only the employees, the technicians, but also customer experience. There's a big customer experience piece to this as well.
And you mentioned use Bluetooth. I have not heard that before with this type of technology or tracking. That would seem to make a lot of sense.
It does. I mean, if you look at where Bluetooth was born, it was for end cap advertising, and it's indoor location is really what it's designed for. We've built out an industrial Bluetooth tracking system, but built for dealerships. It's not something that's been retooled from other industries. This was built for retail automotive, solving real problems that every dealership faces every day.
Okay, now logistics. Difficult for me to set up as a dealer. I contact you. I say, Colin, I'm interested. What are the next steps? How do you determine what the dealership needs, and how do you set all that up, and how long does that take?
We've designed it to be super simple, Ted, because it has to be. Dealers are busy. They don't want another system. So we handle everything. You call us, you tell us, I want to track my keys. I want to track my cars. I want to track both. I want your service solution. And we come out, we install all the equipment, we get your people set up, and we launch it. And it's typically a 1.5, 2 day process. It's very straightforward. And your employees want to use it. That's one of the great things about it, is it's not another tool that management wants to push down to the troops on the front line. It's something that the front line wants to use, because they're the ones that look silly when they can't find the car or the key. They're the ones that can't go wrench on the car when they want to just work on the next repair order. So adoption is very, very easy. And essentially all you need to worry about is, in service, you just get these hang tags and you use them. On the sales side, you just got to scan this to every VIN. There's a little QR code. You scan the VIN, scan the tag, and hit save. We sync that up to your inventory. It's very straightforward. We can get you up and running in about a day and a half. And the nice thing is dealers, we have a very low churn rate. Once dealers have it, they keep it.
DMS integration?
Yes, any DMS that you want to integrate, you can integrate with that. Some do have a fee to that, but we have all the major DMS integrations for you.
Everybody, mobile dealer data, finally a solution that's built not just for the dealer, but for fixed operations, applies really, really well to your service department, to your recon shop, throughout the entire fixed process. Colin is here. He's the founder of the company. If our audience wants to find out more information, I know you're into a lot of stores today. What's the best way to reach out and take the next step?
Yeah, absolutely. My email's on the screen. I do like to talk to as many customers as possible. So certainly, email me directly, call me directly. The number you have there, Ted, is to our main line, and they'll route you to either send you an information packet or do a demo. Or if you want to visit, we can do a visit. But reach out to me directly. Ideally, I love talking to customers. I love hearing about what problem you're trying to solve and get a game plan to solve it for you.
Mobile dealer data, mdd.io. That's the URL. You can reach them on the web. Colin is on social media. We're connected on social media on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
And I imagine they can reach out there. Find out more information. It's working, everybody. It's here. It's now. It makes you more efficient. And what a great tool for fixed ops and for the entire dealership. Colin, I want to thank you for your time today and for bringing us up to speed.
Yeah, this was great. I really appreciate the time, and it was a great conversation. Glad to be here.
Everybody, the mobile dealer data segment here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Whether you consider it evolutionary or revolutionary, change is reshaping the franchise dealer business, and we're not talking about electric vehicles. There's another promising opportunity that demands your attention. It's the fast-growing and increasingly lucrative customer pay parts, tire, and service market. Consider what's happening around you. Average vehicle age is at an all-time high and rising faster than ever. More than 60% of passenger vehicles are 8 years old or older. 25% are at least 16 years of age. Together, this represents 244 million prospective parts, tire, and service targets. We say prospective because the vast majority of these vehicles are being serviced outside the franchise dealer channel. Would you like to capture your share of this nearly $400 billion opportunity? Epicor is ready to help. Our solutions are enabling thousands of automotive businesses to address every customer pay parts, tire, and service opportunity for virtually any vehicle, regardless of make, model, or year. We're helping service providers build customer relationships spanning the full vehicle lifecycle, from the end of the factory warranty to the day the vehicle is scrapped. We're putting the industry's most complete parts, tire, and labor data at the fingertips of thousands of service advisors every day. We've created a faster, more accurate estimating process for customer pay jobs that helps dealers increase average RO and service lane productivity. We offer real-time information on local parts and tire availability and pricing to speed every job, increase customer satisfaction, and boost the dealer's absorption rate. And we're helping parts departments establish real-time visibility and control of their inventories to increase efficiency and reduce operating costs. Epicor is ready to help your fixed ops teams achieve the same impressive results. Own every non-warranty parts, tire, and service opportunity, all makes, all models, all customers. Now you can with Epicor. Contact us today to learn more.
This panel goes the extra mile for our dealerships with quick and efficient parts delivery. Join us for the Epicor panel with Elite Extra.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Vanessa Collins, joined by Ted Ings, Richard Lupo, John Ward, and Jake Ashendorf, and we're here to talk all things Elite Extra.
Everybody, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Glad to have you here at Northwood University in beautiful Midland, Michigan. John, you and I met a few months back on one of the roundtables that we did. I want to start with you today. Managing staffing shortages at the dealership, particularly among dealership staff, that's a challenge for retailers such as Richard. How is Elite Extra helping dealers supplement their delivery fleets and deliver more with less?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'm sure Richard can agree on the staffing shortage side of things. The first thing to say is that really we break it up into two different areas. First is being able to be more efficient with your internal fleet? What technology can you leverage to make sure that you are doing more with less? And that can come through automation. So if you think about it as Richard, I'm going to use you as an example. As you guys are writing orders that are going to have to get delivered to your customers, so it all starts with the DMS integration, having those orders come into technology, automation of the route building, the optimization of the routes, and then even automating them to the drivers that are going to be doing the deliveries. It seems that when you talk about things like that, the buzzwords are button clicks. How do I say button clicks? Button clicks equates to time. And so if I can save button clicks, I'm going to save time. The second part of that then is really on the staffing shortage side. If you don't have enough drivers, if you've got too much volume that you need to get out, how am I going to get that product to the customer? That's where something like a third-party delivery network can really be powerful and game-changing. Being able to leverage third-party fleets like DoorDash, like Go Local, like Curry, so that you can actually manage your fleet and leverage the third-party fleets and automatically call them in to pick up a part and complete a delivery on your behalf. So those are probably the two biggest areas that stand out when you think about how do I manage more with less.
Jake, could you weigh in on that as well?
Yeah, so Ted, I'm going to sum that all up as you know, Epicor, we're a data company. It's all about the data. So we're bringing those actionable data and turning data into insights so that dealers can more efficiently staff and use it.
So Richard, you're at retail over at Appletree, Honda, and Acura. Tell us your thoughts.
The analytics part of it, taking that data, those Lego blocks, and building that model, being able to tell in real costs what deviating from that route and what it actually costs to do that hot shot in actual data means a lot. Coming up with creative solutions like DoorDash to deliver parts, integrating that all into one thing makes it makes a big difference in the efficiency of your operation, getting the most out of your resources, assets that you have, the greatest one being your people.
That's fine. Good luck.
So as we all know, customer service can be a huge differentiator in winning and keeping customers. So my question is, how does Elite Extra help dealers provide a high-level customer experience when it comes to their wholesale parts deliveries?
Yeah, great question. Historically, and I'm going to bring everybody that's been in the business 1 year or 40 years back, but historically, customer service has always been a reactive thought. You waited until the customer called to give them an update on the status of their order. And so how do you turn that reactiveness into being proactive? And that really comes through just open communication, open visibility. That can be done several different ways. It can be done through email notifications, text notifications, e-commerce integrations, so that you can send data proactively to the customer, answer their questions before they even know that they have a question, so that they can stay informed, they can stay up to date as far as when is my part going to get here, what's the status of it, who actually it was delivered, who did you leave it with? Because now I have to go find that person to figure out where is this part at. So being able to share all of that information, again, in an automated fashion, but being more proactive than reactive is really the key there to make sure that you're leveraging the best customer experience that you can.
Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, so as we all know, CSI and customer satisfaction is at the cornerstone of every business, right? And it always seems that the happy customers are always willing to pay a little bit more, or they forgive you when you do have one little misstep. So every single interaction that we can have with the customer, if we can make it memorable and we take care of them from a customer service aspect, just means that they're going to be loyal to the experience more so than anything.
And Richard, this is very innovative. Some of the things that they're doing, utilizing things like DoorDash and some of the things we've heard today.
Sure.
On the parts side of all things.
Yeah. I want to actually throw it back to you for just a second, because CSI, CSE, ACE for Acura, what we deal with, this customer satisfaction. We here at Northwood talking to these young students, it is about relationships. And one of the things that you put out front is Midwest Nice, right?
Yeah.
And your solution is truly comprehensive and catching all these different aspects. But Midwest Nice is where it starts with you guys, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us about that. Tell me about that.
John?
Yeah, I mean, Midwest nice, it's a thing. I mean, that's great to hear you say because it's a thing. And I think it goes back to some of the other messaging that we heard. It's just how you treat people.
Yeah.
To piggyback off of what Jake said, if you treat people good, they're going to forgive you if there is a misstep. It's when those missteps happen, how do you handle them? And the Midwest nice is a thing, making people feel comfortable about it, but also being able to share information that's both accurate and in real time is also part of that, so that you're not only just being Midwest nice, you're sharing information that they can trust.
Right, right.
John, at the most recent Fixed Ops Roundtable was when Epicor introduced Elite Extra to a lot of the members of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and we started talking about things like returns management, and I was surprised to learn there are a number of Fixed Ops Roundtable dealers who are utilizing Elite Extra. You had a dealer in Texas who was on there as well. The returns and managing that continues to be one of the biggest challenges for dealers. What capabilities does Elite Extra offer to do this?
And we could spend the rest of the day talking about the trouble and the problems within the returns management process. Yeah. But I think everybody would agree the returns side of the business has been one area that's been untouched for years as it relates to technology to manage returns. One of the great things is that we got started in the dealer space 15 years ago. And so we've been sitting here for 15 years watching the problems in the returns process. And so bringing that consumer-like experience to the B2B world was a big focus of ours. And so if I had to sum it all up and take a 3-hour conversation and sum it up into how does returns management really, or returns automation really help a dealer, it really comes down to really 3 areas. First off, it's going to be a part that you sold them, and so you don't get parts back at the dealership anymore and say, I didn't even sell them this part, so it can guarantee that you actually sold them the part. The second thing is visibility. So not only internal visibility of the status of the return, but really making sure that the customer is up to date as far as what is the status of my return? Is it picked up? Has it been picked up? What's the status of the credit? All of that can be encompassed within the returns automation process. And the third is really being able to automate your returns policy, so that even before, as the customer initiates a return, you can automate and enforce your returns policy to really set the stages of, I'm going to automatically accept this return. I'm going to need to get approval on this return because it falls outside of some window. Or 3, I'm just going to automatically decline it. It doesn't meet any of, it's a special order. It doesn't meet any of the policies that we have related to returns. And so those are probably the 3 biggest areas in which the returns automation process can really help streamline the process for the dealers.
Jake, this is starting to sound a little bit like Amazon, some of the things. You're taking a page from their book.
Yeah, there's no secret, right? We win with and wow them with customer service when we sell the part. But when they do make a mistake or it's not the right part, how do we take care of them from that standpoint? So returns automation is a huge game changer for dealers and everybody to be able to now automate and give that same upfront customer experience when it's not that good experience, right? They're already upset. They've already wasted time. They have the wrong part. Now their end customer is upset. Let's at least make it automated and easy and efficient for them to now return the part and get the credit that's needed.
Does that make sense for dealers like you?
It does, and if I might drill down just a little bit on that. So if we're serving a lot of collision repair customers, and we're sending out a crash parts kit, and then getting returns back, dealing with insurance companies. And the amount of parts that we send out versus what we get back are sometimes different. Mm-hmm. And your solution for that is very, 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 very helpful.
Right. Yeah, being able to drill all the way down to that line item. Yeah. Absolutely.
And the people that are in that sector of the business know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's a great solution.
Yep, excellent.
Data and analytics drive so much of our business today. So pivoting a little, my question is, where does Elite Extra leverage data to increase efficiency of the dealers and provide insights into their operations?
Yeah, and it all starts, in my mind, with the integrations into the different DMSs, whether you're running Reynolds and Reynolds, CDK, Techion, DealerTrack. It all starts there because that's where a lot of the data is being housed and being shared and integrated into solutions like ours. And so being able to leverage that data and then incorporate all the data that's being collected as parts are out for delivery delivery is really going to show dealers how efficient are we being? Are we being as efficient as we can with how we're staffing ourselves? What are some of the exceptions? What didn't we do so well today? Being proactive in addressing those, and then drilling down into how profitable is that route? I'm going across the state every single day. Am I making money on that? Do I need to adjust that? And so being able to take all of the data and analytics that relates to that and combining it with the data that you get and store within the DMS is a pretty key component to making sure that you're efficient.
Well, John, I want to thank you and I want to thank Jake for bringing this to the forefront.
Yeah.
Both Elite Extra and Epicor. What a great combination, Jake.
We couldn't be happier.
Yep, absolutely.
And Richard, thank you so much for being involved with us today. All right,
Thank you. Yeah.
And all you do for fixed operations. Everybody, stay with us. We're going to be right back. We're here at Northwood University. We'll be back with the Fixed Ops Roundtable in just a moment.
This truly is the event of the season. Remember to pull out your flip phones and vote for our Shon Butler Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the event. We'll see you in our backyard barbecue tomorrow for day 4 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable's Summer Palooza event. Catch you later.